Good evening and welcome to Chaska City Council meeting for Monday, June 17th, 2024. We'll call the meeting to order at 7 o'clock. Will you please stand and join me in pledge of allegiance?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Oh, that's pretty awesome to hear that many people reciting it. That's pretty cool. So thank you all for doing that. Appreciate it. Lease recall roll, please.
Councilmember Hatfield. Here. Councilmember Hubbard. Here. Councilmember Long.
Here.
Councilmember Rob.
Here.
Mayor Winchell.
Here. Next, we'll move to item 4, adopting the agenda. Are there corrections or additions to the agenda? If not, I would entertain a motion to approve.
Make a motion to approve the agenda.
Motion by Councilmember Hubbard,
Second.
second by Councilmember Hatfield to adopt the agenda. Discussion. Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Post same sign. Motion carries. All right. Moves us to visitor presentation. Tonight, we have the growth and opportunity swearing in ceremony, and I'm going to turn it over to Chief Seibert at this point and let him do some introductions, and shortly thereafter, we'll do the oath of office for those folks. So welcome.
Thank you, Mayor. Good evening, Mayor, council members. Believe it or not, it's 3 years ago, probably almost to the day, that we brought the Growth Through Opportunity Program to the city of Chaska. And at least me personally, I can't imagine it's been 3 years of where that time went. But nonetheless, this is our third year participating in the program. And again, this is in partnership with Empower Inclusion. The program itself, again, it's 8 weeks, several times per week, and it provides that hands-on experience and training like we've talked about in years past for our cadets. I think it's a great opportunity for all of us to get to know one another, both on the city staff side of the equation as well as our cadets. I think it's a very valuable experience for everybody involved. We were not the first city to participate in this. I believe we were the third, but I think ours is likely one of the strongest programs just based on the overall participation that we have from all the different city departments. And eventually, on the last night, we'll come back here to the city council and I'm going to ask you a question. And it's going to be, what was your favorite department? And even though I'd like you to say it's the police department, it very well might be inspired.
The answer is
Public
Mayor
Works.
Workshop. That's
Could
the
be the mayor, could be city administration, but the great thing here is you have a lot of choices because all of our city participates in the program. I also think it's very important to note that a good number of our past cadets are here tonight and they're here to support you in your endeavor as cadets. And our past cadets, if you remember, their names were Jordan, Mitchell, Wesley, and Christian. But also I talked about the recap that we'll do. That'll be in August. So don't forget to remember what your best part is. But what we're going to do here tonight is all new cadets, when they join the police department, they have to take an oath of office. And that's something where you raise your right hand and the mayor is the one that administers that oath. But before we do that, I'm sorry, I'm going to put you both on the spot. I'm going to introduce you both. So the council and everybody here in attendance has an idea of who you guys are. So the first is Ellie Snow. Her parents are here this evening, Pastor Greg Snow, who is also one of our police chaplains, and Mrs. Connie Snow are her parents. Ellie is a lifelong resident of Chaska, and you're also a former police explorer. You're the youngest, or she is the youngest of 4 siblings, and she has a dog named Dolly. She also graduated in 2023 from Chaska High School, and she's continuing her education as we speak in the Students Towards Adult Responsibilities program. Ellie says she's very excited to join the Growth Through Opportunity program and looks forward to reconnecting with the police department. And this, I think, is a really neat line that I had to include in here, is that everybody says that if they know Ellie, she has a big heart and she likes to help others. So I think you're going to find those attributes really important in the Growth Through Opportunity program because all of our city departments, we take care of other people. And then also Carson Ayers is our second cadet, and his parents are here this evening as well, his mom Carrie and his father Chad. And also, I don't think your brother is here, but he has a brother. There he is over there. Peyton is also here tonight. Carson also lives in Chaska and he's 20 years old. And his favorite thing is watching sports. So I don't know if you like all Minnesota sports, but you probably get frustrated
Yeah.
like the rest of us. It's definitely a good hobby. Carson also enjoys dogs, golfing, and pizza. So you may enjoy the town course. Hopefully you're a better golfer than me, because that's just embarrassing, but the golf course undoubtedly will be a good experience for you. Yeah, and he also says that his favorite sports team is the Minnesota Wild. And he is also looking forward to learning more about the police department. So, and that's also where they'll be starting in the police department in the program. So that said, Mayor, if you could come down here and do the oath of office, and we will start with Ellie.
Folks, if you want to take pictures, feel free to go up there, go anywhere you want. You are free to go anywhere in the building you like. Make sure you get the good shot. That's the important part.
Just turn, face the mayor.
Over here, yeah, right here. Perfect. All right, you ready for this? I gotta make sure I got the right one here. Nope. All right, Ellie, will you raise your right hand, please? All right. And then just repeat after me, okay? I, Ellie Snow,
I, Alice Snow,
do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
that I will support
that I will support
the Constitution
the Constitution
of the United States
of the United States
and the state of Minnesota,
and the state of Minnesota,
and faithfully discharge
and faithfully discharge
the duties
the duties
of an honorary police cadet
of the honoring police cadet
of the city of Chaska
of the city of Chaska
in the county of Carver
in the county of Carver
and the state of Minnesota,
and state of Minnesota,
to the best of my
to the best of my
judgment and ability.
judgment and my ability.
So help me God.
So help me God.
You did awesome. Congratulations. Way to go. Good job.
If you can do it. And I think that please keep that sign and stuff like that.
Okay? Chief, you gotta sign those, right? These are our copies?
No, I put your name on there in a second.
No, but I think, don't you have a signature? Oh, no, it's the police cadet. Okay, sorry. All right. All right, Carson, you ready to go? All right, right hand up. Carson Ayers,
I, Carson Ayers,
do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
that I will support
that I will support
the
the
Constitution
Constitution
of the United
of
States
the United States
and of the state of
and the
Minnesota,
state of Minnesota,
and faithfully discharge
faithfully discharge
the duties of an honorary police cadet
of an honorary police cadet
of the city of Chaska
of the city of Chaska
in the county of Carver
in the county of Carver
and the state of
in
Minnesota,
the state of Minnesota,
to the best of my judgment
to the best of my judgment
and ability.
and ability.
So help me God.
So help me God.
Awesome. You did a great job.
Thank you. That's a good. Tell me what is it for? Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks, Mayor.
I know what I just, as people are getting ready to get up and go, I want to comment about this program. It is so awesome to see about how our staff works with these folks. It is amazing. You see pictures of them and they're all tied in. I've been around them and it's so fun and so exciting to see our staff so willing to help out and show them their jobs. I think that is so great. So if you ever get an opportunity to be around them or have that, please take the time to go see that and be part of that. But this is such an amazing program. I'm so happy that I think Julie's the one that, unfortunately, Julie's retired now, but Julie brought this program to us, and I think it's going to be here for a long time. Just seeing the support of our employees and of our staff. So it's really fun and exciting. So glad we could be part of it.
Do you think because we have past and new cadets, they could get a group picture together since they're.
Yeah, do you want to do a group picture with all the past and other cadets before everybody sneaks out?
Maybe, the police.
Good,
Yeah.
good thinking. Oh, I think almost everybody's here. I think all six are here.
As I noticed, everybody.
Yeah.
here. You can come up here. Yeah, come on.
Come on up front here. Carson, come on up.
All the way back, right?
We'll just go right here. It's easier for Christian that way.
Right in front of the council here?
Christian, I don't know. You stay far away from me.
There's Mitchell. How are you, sir? Good. How are you? Nice seeing you.
Your general walk of program.
Yes, see, there's experience talking. I don't know, should we, is it?
We're standing?
I think it's probably better if we stand.
Okay.
Stepping on your toes, sorry.
no.
Are you guys smiling down there?
I'll let them go first.
You got plenty of time, so don't worry about it if you're not here. Who do you need to squeeze in front or back?
The front,
Everybody?
yeah, a little
Okay, you
bit.
guys gotta push in a little bit. There you go.
Mayor, can you get taller?
I can't. All right, hold still. There's gonna be more people coming in yet. Connie, but step in front there. You good? Okay, one last one for the city.
Oh, yeah, good.
Squeeze in. Christian, you gonna stay up here and guide me, or are you gonna go to the back? You're out of here. You're out of here.
Well, when I saw everybody, I was like.
This is fun to have.
Yeah, that's a pretty cool.
It's a great program.
I know, just doing my job, guys.
Yeah, hey, that was a good call.
Yep.
I didn't, I saw 5 of them here, and then last minute, I saw 6 of them.
I was gonna say, Taylor, we could have got the mayor up on our shoulders and went with that,
We
you know,
should have just all lifted them up.
across the.
All right, we'll give them a couple seconds here. As they go to the group. Thanks, everybody, for being here. It's great to see everybody.
There's plenty of seats for me.
Bye.
There's a podium up here.
Hey. What? You can say a few words? That's a new one. You know, if you sit down, you can't leave till we're done.
Thank you, I gotta go.
It always works. It always works. All right, at this point, is there anyone else that is here for visitor presentation, not on the agenda item, not on an agenda item? All right, hearing that, I have one thing that I would like to do tonight, so I got something here I'd like to go through. So being the mayor the past 14 plus years has been a rewarding and exciting and humbling. I've been honored to serve this position that long. Well, it's been fulfilling work. There has been some challenges. This first part of 2024 has been perplexing to me. I personally have had several health scares and injuries that have really made me thinking more what's most important in life. I definitely realize how important your health is. Without it, you have nothing. There are many things that Connie and I still want to do in life, and I need to be around in order to do them. Plus, planning around council meetings and multiple other committees that I sit on makes it very tough. I have worked for the city of Chaska for over 40 years. I was 13 years in public works, 21 years probably serving in the Chaska Fire Department, and now 14, I'm in my 15th year as mayor. That's 8 terms and roughly some 364 council meetings later. Plus I have a looming election coming up, and I'm not sure if I've ever told you before, but I really dislike election time. By far the least favorite part of my job. You probably already know where this is going at this point, so here it is. I have decided not to seek reelection this fall. I know I am supposed to only have 5 minutes on the visitor presentation, but I may push that a little bit tonight. I'm very proud of all the things that and it's never about it takes a great team to have accomplished so many things for the city over the years, and I think that the team has gotten only stronger. I think continuity is important, and I believe I have provided that. If you look at the photos on the walls, you have seen that quite a few council members. And you hear me say it's because of all of those folks that we've worked together for the best of Chaska. I'm proud that I was able to be part of that and keeping us moving forward with our strategic goals. And as a footnote to that, I've worked with 11 different mayors in our neighboring 3 cities in my tenure here. So that's been a lot of turnover, but I'm also proud to be that one constant. The accomplishments here have been amazing. Many are very visible and others were needed, but not often seen. We redeveloped Fireman's Park and Veterans Park. We built the levee around Athletic Park, rebuilt Highway 41 and the downtown area, renovated Depart 30 to become the Loop of Chaska, hosted a Ryder Cup, and I might say one of the most successful ones ever, and the US won. So, and next we're going to be the first city to host our second Ryder Cup in 2029. And we're going to co-host our second US Amateur, which is rare for a public course, and that will be in this August. So we've done a lot of amazing things. We've also accomplished a lot of things that don't seem as shiny, but on the outside, but are still just as important. We built Highway 44-212 interchange, the downtown street and utilities reconstruction, reforested downtown, built a major trunk sewer line to the southwest Chaska, redeveloped the old True Value site, and are starting to bring our city facilities up to what they should be for a city our size. And we just realized here not long ago that we are now over a 30,000 population mark. So we have been growing and still are growing. There are just a few projects that have happened over years we are very proud of. Over the years, we have been working on our staffing levels and our facilities. Both are critical for maintaining our quality city services. On the employee side, we've come a long way in 14 years. We've hired a full-time fire chief, started a human resource division, hired a communications coordinator, and adding a building maintenance division. Plus, we hired a new police chief in the middle of COVID. I might be the only mayor who's got to swear in a police chief and shake hands with a glove I put on a stick to maintain our social distancing. Everyone still remembers that phrase, don't we? I have to give a special mention to our building maintenance division. They have been busy since day one fixing and repairing many of our buildings that have been in dire needs. They did amazing work building a temporary fire station office, which was cheaper than renting office, plus it provides a space after the use. We have also done some cool things as we move into the future. We're in the planning stages for a 55-acre community park. In that will be a miracle field and a fully adaptive playground. We have a master plan looking at a complete renovation of the community center. We are actively working with a developer to build a 1 million plus square foot data center. We are preparing an area in southwest Chaska as a possible new industrial park. We are working to get all the Chaska city limits under our own electric department. We are reinvesting in most of our city facilities so that we can keep up with our growing city. Once the public safety facility is done, we will rebuild our municipal services building, build a library, and renovate City Hall. I want to say thank you to some people that have helped me along the way. First off, thank you, Connie, for always supporting me and putting up with all my crazy stuff that's happened over the years. When you are with the mayor, you tend to get asked a lot of questions at a lot of different places. And what would be a 5-minute trip to a grocery store easily turns into 30 to 40 minutes. Plus, there have been many times I've had to leave all of a sudden when something comes up. You have been the best. I love you dearly. My children, David, Jill, and Krista, they have been amazing helping me during election seasons. If you've ever had an opportunity of working with your growing children, go for it. It's a blessing and it's very humbling. It was like a role reversal from when they were kids. They were telling me everything about social media and all the things you need to do and don't do. And so it was great times. And to the many others that helped me during election time, you know who you are. Thank you from the bottom of my heart. Staff has been great supporting me through the years as a newbie on the council and going right to the mayor position of a very active city. Matt, you've been amazing. Thank you for your guidance and your leadership. You are a big reason why we are in such a great place as a city. We make a great team. Elise, Nate, Noel, Matt Clark, Kevin, Krista, Liz, Julie, Ashley, Denise, and Vicky have all been amazing and are always there when I have a question, and they always make me look good. You are amazing and awesome. Thank you. To our department heads, Ryan, Steven, Brian, Nick, Pete, John Kellen, Beth, Marshall, and John Schmidt, thank you. You are all dedicated professionals. You always have the staff at the top of their game and you get more things done than anyone ever could. Ask them about the Ryder Cup. They perform miracles in front of a world stage. To all the city employees, you have all done things that many would not have been able to do because of your ability to work together and tackle what is ever put in front of you. I just want to say how honored and proud I have been serving the city of Chaska. I'm asked often, how do I do it? You must get tons of emails and phone calls. I always say it's really not that bad. I think it helps that I answer my phone and emails when I can, and I'm at nearly every city event so people get a chance to see me and ask questions when they have them. I will also tell you that there are many challenges with the job. I've always said that we cannot do everything that people ask us to do, but if we can't, it's important on how we tell them that we can't. I feel we always give valid reasons why or why not. To my fellow council members, it has been a pleasure serving with you, even though you tend to make fun of me all the time about my old timely references to Chaska. So someday you'll be calling me asking for this. In all seriousness, it is important for a council to be aligned in our strategy and our mission. While we don't always agree, we treat each other with utmost respect and listen to what each other has to say. Thank you for your service to our city. I cannot forget to mention previous councils as well. Same things. We didn't always agree, but we respected each other's opinion, and there were many. Just kidding. There has also been many former department heads and employees that have also added to the success of the city and myself. So thank you very much. To the residents of Chaska, thank you for your support and encouragement. The respect you have shown me is tremendous. You have no idea how appreciative I am of that. But don't forget, you still have 6 months of me left. So I hope you stay as nice as you have been so far. So that's it. Thank you for listening. All right. Next. Item 6 is approving previous meeting minutes, and that's for council meeting of 6/3/2024. There are corrections or additions to that. If not, I would entertain a motion to approve.
Motion to approve.
Motion by Councilmember Grau,
Second.
second by Councilmember Harbord. Discussion. Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Post same sign. Motion carries. Next, we move on to consent. These are items that need our approval, but don't necessarily need a conversation, but any and all can be pulled for conversation if needed. Pat, is there any comments, questions on the agenda items? Hearing none, I would entertain a motion to approve consent.
Motion to approve consent.
Motion by Councilmember Hatfield,
Second.
second by Councilmember Hubbard. Discussion. Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Post same sign. Motion carries. Next, we move into action items. We're gonna start off with our 2023 annual financial reports. Matt, Noel, or who's taking?
Mayor and Councilmember, each year, we have to go through the process of auditing our prior year financial statements. And this year is no different. We have MMKR who has provided our auditing services to go over to give us an opinion. And they'll go over and share that with us here now. Before we do that, though, I'm going to turn it over to Noel, our Administrative Service Director, who leads up the team for going through our audit process.
Thank you, Matt. Mr. Mayor, council members. Before you tonight is our financial reports from the fiscal year 2023 for the year ending December 31st. Just to highlight real quick, with us tonight is Eric Matisse, who is our Finance Division Director, Lisa Nelson, who is our Controller, and then we also have Jackie Heigl, who is the Principal with MMKR, which is the independent audit firm that the city has engaged to perform our annual audit. The action tonight that you're going to be asked is to accept 4 different reports from the city. These are included in your packet. The large one is what we refer to as our ACFR. This is the detailed financial statement. It's about 192 pages. In addition to that report, there's going to be a management report that was issued by MMKR. This is a summary of the operations and any related topics that they wanted to address during the audit process. In addition to that, there's a special purpose report. This is the opinions that are issued related to our federal single audit, as well as to opinions that the auditors issue as it relates to state requirements for internal controls and compliance. So the 4th and final report related to the city is a short one. It has to do with addressing any findings from prior audits. And that is a requirement both of the federal single audit as well as the state requirements. In addition to the city's reports, there are also going to be 3 reports related to the Chaska Fire Relief Association. The city is obligated to fund this pension, and therefore their activities are included in our financial statements. As a part of that process, there's their annual financial report, as well as MMKR's special reports on the state compliance requirements. So that'll be the action that will be asked of you tonight. To get started here, just briefly, I like to sort of set the tone here a little bit with 5 numbers. And this is sort of going to start big and drill down here a little bit. Our total expenditures last year in 2023 totaled $127.7 million. So that's everything, both our governmental operations, our enterprise operations, our debt service payments, our capital project funds, altogether $127.7 million. So that's what the financial statement represents in terms of total activity. Of that 127, 70.1 million is from our enterprise fund operations. We have 9 different enterprise funds. These are the electric, water, sewer utility funds, as well as our stormwater utility. We have 2 golf courses, a community center. We have the curling and events center, and also our gas turbine fund. So that 70 million represents 55% of our total expenditures. So the majority of our expenditures are related to our utilities and enterprise operations that we have in those particular facilities. The third number is our electric fund. This is probably the most significant fund. That is 47.8 million. That's 37% of our total expenditures. So more than a third of our operations directly relate to our electric fund. Now, the general fund is the one that most people are familiar with. This is where all of our governmental services, whether it be police and fire, public works, snow plowing, park maintenance, general governmental services, whether it be planning, building inspections, those all occur in our general fund. That's about 18% of our budget, $23.5 million. So that is less than half of what the total electric fund is. So we've been driving down to, a smaller and smaller component. The last number I'm going to share was our tax levy from 2023. That was $15.2 million, 12% of our total expenditures. It's a significant amount. We do go through a detailed budget process every year and adopt our property tax levy. That represents 15% of what we're doing over the entire year. So it's a very large operation that we have. It's very dynamic for a city of our size. As we talk with our peers in the finance area, and as I talk with the auditor and other auditors, the amount of activity that this city is engaged in for its size is very significant. I'm going to talk a little bit about the CAFR, which is in your packets as a PDF. Basically, these are the financial statements that we as a city have prepared. There are responsibilities to prepare that statements. Under state statute, we're required then to have an independent auditor review those and issue an opinion as to their fairness. And that's the role that MMKR played this year. That report breaks into really three sections. The first section is the introductory section. This is the overview section that would have our letter of transmittal. So a first-time reader who wants to understand the city's operations could read that letter of transmittal and get an overview. That's about 8-9 pages, so it's a very short read for someone. We also have our organizational chart in there so they understand the role of the council and all the operational departments of the city and how we are organized, as well as listing out all of the elected and appointed officials. So that's the general. Section 1 is the introductory section. Section 2 is our financial section. This begins on page 11 through 13 of the report, and this is where the auditor has inserted their opinion on these financial statements. They have found that the opinion they have given is an unmodified or clean opinion. And that is what we strive to have each year, is to make sure there are no concerns as to what we've represented in the activities or the positions of those financial statements. I'm going to let Jackie go into more detail as a part of her presentation on what the audit addressed in their reports. In the second section, we also have the management and discussion analysis, which begins on page 15. This is a more objective section where we've gone through and had a discussion about the different types of funds, what's the financial position of the fund, what has changed in the last year. And so if someone wants to start understanding the financial operations in more detail, this is a good section for them to review. In addition to the management discussion, we have our basic citywide or entity-wide financial statements. Those are on page 32 through 33. And this is what looks at the entire city, whether it be a governmental operation or a business type operation. We've sort of made some adjustments to try to blend it all together to come up with that $127 million total operation. The third section of the report is, or should say after the basic financial statements, we have the notes to the financial statements that begin on page 45. This is the section you want to read if it's about, 10:30 and you want to go to bed. This will put you right to sleep. This is the detailed disclosures that in accordance with GAAP and GASB, which are the accounting standards that we have to meet. We have to make these detailed disclosures to take the number on the financial statement and explain what's the story behind it. And this is the section that an analyst who's maybe doing a bond rating for us, or a person who is doing a review of the financial position of the city for like a investment firm, is going to dive into the details of those notes. The third section is then our statistical section. This is their 10-year trend information. So you can see on a year-to-year basis, what have been our revenues, what have been our expenses, what's our debt position, what's our fund balance position. And we have that 10-year history in there for analysis. Couple highlights just real quick from the 23 fiscal year. Again, in 23, we had what was referred to as a federal single audit. The city received over $11.8 million in incurred federal expenditures, for which we received aid from the federal government. Because that exceeded the $750,000 threshold, we had to engage with MMKR to do a federal single audit. That's additional disclosures that the city has to undertake, as well as additional work that the auditor has to take. And Jackie's going to address that as a part of her presentation here too. We do anticipate we're going to have to complete a federal single audit in 24 and likely 25 as we finish those expenditures, and hopefully obtain some additional federal funds if that opportunity is available. The good news is in 25, that 750 is going up to $1 million. So maybe if we stay under the $1 million, we can avoid the federal single audit in the future.
I'd still rather get the $1 million.
It's that 750 has been around a long time. That needs to be adjusted. Second big change this year was the implementation of what is referred to as GASB 96. And this is how we report subscription leases that we have for our IT services. A lot of these are our cloud-based services or just ongoing year by year renewals that we have in place. We had to disclose those in terms of what is our long-term liability and what is our cost. We still appropriate for these every year in our annual budget. It doesn't change our funding plan, just how we had to report them in the financial statements. One of the things I did want to highlight real quick is our bond rating. The city currently has 4 different bond ratings. And just 2 weeks ago, as a part of the bond issue that we're preparing to sell next Monday for the public safety facilities, we requested that Standard & Poor's rate the bonds that we are issuing. And so what they did is they did that bond rating and they reaffirmed our AA rating from Standard & Poor's for our general obligation debt. This is the debt secured by the tax pledge. It's the highest pledge of security we could give to a bondholder. We've had the AA rating for many years now. Our status is considered stable. That's a very good rating for a city of our size that is growing and in the market quite frequently. The type of debt that we are selling is EDA lease revenue bonds. This is in conjunction with the EDA selling the bonds and the city pledging to repay the EDA through a lease. Because those aren't tax revenues, the rating on those bonds is going to be AA minus. And that's what was determined in the bond rating. That's consistent with that debt that we've issued in the past. And that rating is also issued by Standard & Poor's. So we received a very favorable rating report for the bonds that we were issuing. They knew that we would be in the market for this series of bonds because we've been telling them for the past several years about the building program, what our plan was, and they knew that we were coming to market in 2024 for that particular project. The third rating that we have is with Standard & Poor's, and this is on our electric revenue debt. These bonds are supported by the electric sales. The rating that S&P has issued on that, again, is A, stable. It's, again, from the AA down to the single A, still a very high grade revenue, but because they're revenue bonds, they're graded just a little bit lower. But that's a very good rating for our operation in the electric fund. We also have an A1 rating, again, a single A rating from Moody's. We have another series of bonds that was rated for the electric fund by Moody's and not S&P. And so those are very consistent ratings at both being A. So in the report, we do discuss this in the introductory section. So a reader there can understand why we have 4 different bond ratings and what they all relate to. In addition to the city reports, there's the fire relief reports. Their annual financial report has their balance sheet and operations. They have a general fund for basically their fundraising and their membership activities. And then they have their special revenue fund, which is referred to as the pension fund. That is where all of the state aid resources and contributions that are made by the city are used to then pay the benefits that the city has agreed to pay to the volunteer firefighters through the Relief Association. So that funding plan is in place. And that is a part of the disclosures that are made in their report that we then move into the city's report as a part of our long-term pension obligation disclosures. They also received from MMKR a special purpose report that looks at their internal controls and compliance and the basic communications that the auditors make. So that's a quick overview of the 4 reports for the city and the 3 reports for the fire relief. I'm going to let Jackie present her information from the auditor's perspective, and then I've got some concluding comments before asking for action.
Well, good evening, and thank you for having me tonight to present the audit results for the year ended December 31st, 2023. We did discuss the audit in detail at the work session, so tonight's presentation is going to be a higher level PowerPoint going through those audit results. So moving to the first slide, I'll give a little background on my role as an auditor. As an auditor, my role is to issue an opinion on the city's basic financial statements, noting that they are fairly presented in accordance with accounting principles. Since your city did spend more than $750,000 in federal funding, there's a separate audit of those federal awards. And in the current year, there was two programs or two federal grants that we did audit. The first being the Highway Planning and Construction Grant, and the second being a HUD grant for a Creek Road project. As part of the audit, then we also test the internal controls and compliance over that financial statement audit with that federal single audit, and then also with the Minnesota state laws and regulations. So each year, the Office of the State Auditor releases what's known as the Minnesota Legal Compliance Manual. And as auditors, we test the specific statutes in that manual and issue an opinion on that. So moving on to the next slide then summarizes the audit results of the financial statement audit. Here we issued an unmodified or a clean opinion on that basic financial statements. The city was required to implement a new GASB statement in the current year. That was GASB statement number 96, the subscription-based IT arrangement standard. So as part of this, the city was required to review all the subscription agreements. And then anything considered long-term, which would be in excess of 1 year, is how the GASB standard defines that. You are required to record a subscription asset and a subscription liability on your financial statement. So in this current year, it didn't have a significant impact on the financials, but approximately about $150,000 in what's considered long-term subscriptions that the city does have. But you are still paying those annually as you are paying your subscription payments each year. For the internal control reports over financial reporting, I have no findings to report in that area, and also no compliance findings specifically related to that financial statement audit. For the audit opinions over the Minnesota legal compliance, there was one comment to report on in the current year that's specifically relating to contracting and bid laws. Just knowing that anytime you're contracting for construction services in excess of $175,000, as a city, you are required to obtain performance and payment bonds from that contractor. And also anytime you are contracting for construction services in excess of $50,000, there is a verification of a responsible contractor requirement that you are required to obtain from the contractor as well. So for one of the bids we tested in the current year, those items were not on file. Moving on to the next slide, then this summarizes the audit results over that federal single audit. Like I said, there was two federal grants that were audited in this area. All very good results. We issued an unmodified or a clean opinion over that schedule of expenditures of federal awards. And then we had no findings to report specifically with the internal controls or federal compliance and with federal compliance. So all very good results. That federal area is a very time-consuming area, and there's a lot of extensive requirements that are required to be followed there. So good results in that area. Moving on then to the next slide, starts summarizing some of the financial results of the audit. This first slide here specifically summarizes the governmental funds from 2022 to 2023. The top part of that table shows it by that classification of fund balance, the non-spendable, restricted, committed, assigned, and unassigned dollars. And then the bottom portion shows it by the major funds of the city with all the non-major funds combined. Overall, the total governmental fund balance increased about 13.8 million from the prior year. If you're looking in the top portion of that table, you're seeing restricted fund balance go up about 6.3 million. Most of that is bond proceeds that were issued in the current year that have not all been spent. So those will be spent in future years on various projects, as well as some one-time public safety aid that was received at the end of December that will be spent in future years on public safety. You're seeing the committed fund balance increase about 1.4 million. That's mainly in your non-major capital project funds, dollars that are committed for various street improvement projects. And then the assigned fund balance went up about 6.2 million. Most of that is in those non-major capital project funds, dollars that the city has set aside or assigned for future capital improvements. Moving on to the next slide, summarizes some of the general fund financial results. This slide specifically shows the general fund financial position, showing that cash balance, the fund balance, and then a line showing the revenue operations for the past 5 years. Overall, the general fund cash and investment balance ended the year at about 7.4 million. You're seeing an increase in that balance of about 1.9 million from the prior year. And then the fund balance in that general fund ended the year at about 5.5 million, which was an increase of about 1.9 million from the prior year. And that's compared to a balanced budget that was approved by the City Council for 2023. At year end, December 31st, that fund balance in the general fund represents 23.4% of the expenditures of that fund, and that compares to about 16.4% in the prior year. Moving on to the next slide. This summarizes a graph showing the general fund revenues, current year budget compared to current year actual. Overall, your general fund revenues ended the year at about 2.5 million more than the final budget. A couple of the areas you're seeing in the graph there, license and permits were over budget about 1.8 million. Most of that is just due to the building activity within the city being more than anticipated. And you're also seeing that other revenue at the bottom being more than budget by about 400,000. Some of that is due to developer reimbursements received as well as investment earnings being more than anticipated. Overall, your general fund expenditures ended the year at about 3.7 million more than prior year. You're seeing your tax revenues increase from 2022 to 23 in line with the tax levy that was approved by City Council. And then you're also seeing that revenue from other sources increasing with the increased building activity as well as investment earnings. Next slide shows similar graph just of the general fund expenditures of the city. Overall, the general fund expenditures ended the year at about 540,000 higher than the final approved budget. Most of that was in the public safety function. You're seeing come in about 700,000 more than budget, just increased police department staffing, as well as additional staffing in that building inspections department with the increased license and permits in the current year. You also saw the park and rec department about 250,000 over budget, mainly in that park maintenance department. And then this was offset by your general government function being under budget about 440,000, mainly just due to some vacant positions throughout the 23 year. Overall, comparing your general fund expenditures from 22 to 23, you're seeing an increase of about 1.2 million. Most of that's in that public safety function with higher personnel costs in the police department as well as the inspections department. And then the last slide I have here, this summarizes the enterprise funds change in that net position from 22 to 23. The top portion of this table shows the net position by classification, and then the bottom portion shows it by all the major funds, major enterprise funds of the city, and then the non-major enterprise funds combined. So overall, the enterprise funds, those utility funds and all the enterprise operations increased about 7.5 million in net position. Most of that you're seeing in the net investment in capital assets. If you're looking at the top portion of that table, that's just due to the continued investment in the utility infrastructure within the city. And then if you look at the bottom portion of that table, you're seeing all the operations that had continued positive operations in the 23 year, just with the exception of the community center fund that had a decrease. So with that, I can open it up if there are any questions.
For anybody watching or the audience here, we had a work set prior and we went through all of these numbers. So this is just more of a refresher for the public to view and see. So.
I'll pass it back to Noel then.
Thank you, Jackie. Just a couple other comments here I wanted to share. The ACFR is something that staff prepares. And one of the things that we do is every year we submit it for the Certificate of Achievement program. through the Government Finance Officers Association. This is an annual review process where our report is reviewed by 3 outside independent reviewers located in other states across the country. With that, we're able to get feedback from them on how well the report is structured, how well it communicates the compliance with GASB and GAP requirements. And with that, we get feedback, comments that help us to improve the quality of that report. The reason we do this is by having that certificate awarded to us and including it in our financial statement, it sort of becomes a standard that an analyst would know that this report has met those additional reporting requirements of that program. There's over 52,000 governmental entities in the United States that are eligible for this, and only 8.2% of those entities receive that certificate. Chaska is one of the cities of about 35,000 cities that's eligible. So that's only about 4.7% of the cities that actually hold the certificate. Minnesota has about 139 certificates that are issued. It's a large number. We're not the largest because there's California, Texas, and Illinois that are very, very active in the program and a lot larger. But Minnesota is a leader in the number of reports that do receive the certificate each year. And so we do have that certificate. We've received that since 1989, so that's 34 consecutive years. And we anticipate that this report from 2023 that we are just presenting tonight and will be submitted to GFOA will also receive that certificate. In terms of availability of the report, this report will be available on the city's website. We'll work on posting that tomorrow now that it's been presented to the council. We will also, in compliance with state statute, publish it in our legal paper, which is now the Waconia Patriot. It'll also be posted to Emma, which is the electronic website that is managed by the MSRB under the SEC. Since we are a debt issuer, that is the centralized depository for financial statements and disclosures. So we are required to actually post this to Emma, so it's available to any investor that wants to look for it there. In addition, we have copies of it that'll be available in the Chaska Library and here at City Hall if anybody wants to see it. Happy to review the report with anybody. Finally, then I'd just like to make some acknowledgements here. Erica Matisse is our Finance Division Director. She's been with us since last September. So this is her first time going through the Chaska audit and working on the ACFR. So it's been a very informative process for her, but she hasn't been alone. Lisa Nelson is here. She is our controller. She has worked on this report for many years. Along with Erin Barnum, who is our assistant controller. She's not here tonight, but she works very closely and played a very integral role in ensuring the federal single audit transactions were tracked, reported, and available for audit. So in addition to those named individuals, there's everybody in our finance department, but also all of our department heads who help us manage the budget throughout the year from a development process, but also from an operational process, because we all want to make sure we're following Matt's guidance so that we're implementing the budget the way he would like to see it implemented as a part of the fiscal year.
Jeez.
So in addition to that, we say thank you to you as a council for helping set the goals and objectives for the financial report. With that, if there's any other questions, I'd be happy to entertain those. Otherwise, there is a motion before you tonight to accept these reports.
I just want to say thank you to you and your staff. I mean, getting that certificate that we've gotten all those years, that's pretty important. You get it year after year. So I think that that's something that you and your staff should be very proud of. And we as a city are also, thank you for that. I know there's a lot of work put in this report. It's not something you do overnight. So thank you for all that you guys all do to make this report.
Thank you.
Great. With that, then we would have to motion in front of us to financial reports. Oh, okay, so you're moving forward. All right, so motion by Councilmember Wong.
Second.
Second by Councilmember Grau. Discussion. Don't have any comments? Hearing none. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Both same sign. Motion carries. All right, next we move to 8B, motion to adopt resolution 2024-56 and 2024-57 and ordinance 1047 approving the preliminary plot rezoning and variance for High Point Vistas.
Mayor and Councilor, the item in front of you tonight is something that's coming out of the Planning Commission and is recommended for approval for preliminary plat and rezoning and variance. It has to do with the Friends and the Worm property, which is on the south end of the Southwest Chaska development area, specifically on the east side of Highway 212. As you can see in the report, there is 162 lots, single family residential home development that's being proposed. And Nate's here to go over the presentation to show you what it entails.
Thanks, Matt. Mayor and council members, as Matt said, this is the High Point Vistas neighborhood proposal. It's also been called the Friends and Worm site because it's on the properties currently owned by the Friends and Worm families. This is a proposal being put forward by Four Star, who's the developer of the site. And this is for preliminary plat, rezoning, and variance this evening. So as Matt was describing, to put it into picture, the Friends site is outlined in the yellow here, generally north of County Road 61, east of County Road 212, south of the community park property that the city currently owns, in addition to the school, the elementary school property that the school district owns, along with this is the Savannah Way Collector Road extension that is intended to continue through this development, as you'll see as we proceed through this through the slide deck here. The Worm site, which is included in this development proposal, is the area highlighted in red. Neighboring is the Lano property. So this is a future development site as well. Currently, a portion of it is operating as a gravel pit. And then just for further orientation, you've got the existing Founders Ridge neighborhood up where my mouse is. And then the development that D.R. Horton is currently developing neighboring. There is approximately 42 acres of big woods that is present on the site that are comprehensive plan guides for preservation. And I'll speak to that in more detail as I move through my slides as well. Give you where we're at in the process. As you all know, there's a three-step process for review for developments in Chaska. We start with the concept plan. We proceed to the preliminary plat and rezoning, which is where we are at tonight. So this is where we really get into the technical details of a development proposal. Once we're through the preliminary process, we'll move into the final plat, which would come to you yet one more time. So this concept plan came in front of you all back in February of 2022. Sorry, my chair keeps sinking. Move back up. Some key discussion points that came out of that. There was preservation of big woods was discussed at that time, and you see how that was delineated or thought about here on the plan at the time. Park dedication area to the north was discussed at the time as well, thinking about proximity to the existing park space, the opportunity to use that as a tool for preservation of the big woods. Access points into the big woods and ravine areas were discussed. Preservation of wooded steep slopes was discussed. We also talked about landscaping and berming on the edges and along major streets. And we talked about exploration of access into the Lano site at the time as well. That wasn't shown on the concept plan, but that was something that was discussed that should be evaluated as we move forward. And I'll share that with you as we proceed. So the current plan, the preliminary plat has 162 lots on 103 acres. There are 11 outlots. Tonight we ask for rezoning from the open district that it currently is to planned residential district 86. And also a variance, and that variance is related to the route of the collector road as it goes through wooded steep slope area right here. And I'll work through that analysis soon. Some of the things that have changed since the concept plan approval or have come into greater focus would be there's a cul-de-sac to the north here, whereas the concept plan thought about that coming through and connecting to the collector road. This is in order to achieve the spacing guidelines that we have onto our collector road and access point. It is now 100. It was 190 lots at the time of the concept. It's now down to 162 lots. That's due to many different influences, including working to achieve steep slope preservation, the demands for wetlands and stormwater capture and things like that have influenced that. The plan now moves towards an exception parcel, as it's called, on the eastern portion of the site, and including much of the ravine area as well, that the Lano family, or I'm sorry, not the Lano family, the Friends family intends to continue to own. So that's recognized on this plan as well. And I talked about the cul-de-sac already.
Nate, back up. Where are the 24 acres that they want to keep? Is it?
Very right.
So it's, as you can follow my mouse, I'm kind of tracing the line here. So really on that northwest corner of the site.
That's in the middle of the woods, right?
Yes. Yep. It's comprised of primarily Big Woods area. There's a wetland complex up in here. Wooded steep slopes have been delineated in this area. There is an area right here that does not fall within wetland or wooded steep slope ordinance that could be accessed through the Lano site for future development.
And that would be how it would be accessed?
It would need to be accessed through the
Okay.
through the Lano site would be probably the most direct way to do that.
So at this point, there's no plans for that piece that they're keeping.
That's correct. Yep. Yep. Some additional things that have come into focus. Parkland dedication is going to be utilizing Outlot G as it's depicted up in this area. There are some wetlands and wooded steep slopes in there, but 4.1 acres of the 6.77 total acres of that outlot are developable and eligible for parkland dedication credit. And so the developer will be using that as part of their parkland dedication. And then city staff, and to provide some clarity there too, city staff did advise the developer to satisfy parkland dedication with a combination of land, which is that approximate 4 acres, and then the remainder in fees. And I'll get into that in a little bit more detail, but really the goal there is that we want to use parkland dedication as a tool for that big woods preservation, but then also generate fees that are going to be needed to help support development of that community park for which the city already owns property. But that park will serve this neighborhood with the facilities that it ultimately has. So trying to strike a balance between those two things. The Big Woods area, to kind of walk through that, we have Outlot J, which is south of Outlot G. That has approximately 4.6 acres of developable land. The city is pursuing grants to hopefully, if we're successful in attaining those, be able to purchase Outlot J from the developer. And we've been working with the developer towards that goal for that location. Outlots F and Outlot K contains a mixture of wooded steep slopes. There is some stormwater ponding in there, but they are also using some space within that approximately 1.6 acres for upland preservation, which helps meet their storm water requirements through the Carver County WMO. So that's yet one more tool we're using here to try and preserve as much of the Big Woods area as possible. You also have a proportion here of this property that does fall within our wooded steep slope and wetland areas within our ordinances for that would require preservation for those sorts of areas. And so that will, be utilized like it would in any steep slope situation on this development. And then again, as I mentioned, there's the exception parcel here. While that will continue to be owned by the Friends family for now, I think the desire will be to continue to work with them and see what can come of that to hopefully continue to move towards full preservation of the big woods. One of the items that was discussed at concept was the Llano access, and to share with you the analysis that went into that or describe that to you. There's a steep grade change that occurs from the Worm property as it goes down to where the Llano property is here. So the Llano property would be this parcel that I'm circling my mouse, and then this larger parcel owned by two different Llanos, but they are working together. And so in order to have access happen from the Worm property down into the Llano area and be able to navigate that terrain change and that slope, while also maintaining the maximum allowable slope for a city street, you end up with a very long run for that street to get into this area and basically, touch ground, right? And so what happens then is you preempt a good proportion of this Llano portion of the property from productive development as a result of that. So in working with the Llanos and working with the developer, it's been determined that a better option will likely be when the Llano property decides to move forward with development, that we would explore either a direct connection onto 61, and the Llanos are aware that would be a limited access at that point, likely a right in, right out, or looking at the potential to cross the ravine somewhere in this area and connect the neighborhood up to the neighborhood that would be developing to the north. So we will look into those options when that time comes. But I think the Llanos were of the opinion that one of these options would likely result in a better outcome for the development of their property as compared to connecting through here. There still does remain the possibility that a connection could be built here. However, High Point Vistas would be having stormwater ponding in this area, since we, working with the Llanos and everyone decided that that's not the ideal location for an access. So they're going to use it for stormwater ponding. If the Llanos decided, or whoever develops the Llano property were to decide that that connection is desirable, they would need to relocate that stormwater ponding as part of that project, which could be done, although certainly not a simple solution.
Did the Llanos give up on the idea of mining that property?
They are not actively pursuing that right now. So yeah, that's not, I guess the more common conversation recently has been about looking at development opportunities there. Yep. So the preliminary plat, like I mentioned, is 162 lots on 103 acres, made up primarily of 60 to 65 foot wide lots. The setbacks on a typical lot would be front and corner lots would be 20 feet, rear setback of 25 feet, and then side setbacks of 5 feet. So that'd be reflected in the zoning ordinance that would be in front of you this evening. There'll be two full vehicle access points serving this development. So one will be on the County Road 61 connecting the Savannah Way Collector Road to that location. And then the other would be on what the developer is naming Narrows Canyon Trail connecting into 61 here. And that would be another full access. We are coordinating with the city of Carver. They have an access desire to proceed northward from this location in the future at the time that development occurs in that area of their city. So that at some point, this could become a four-way, intersection right there.
The county's okay with that? I thought they didn't want any more access points there. And that's
This was something reflected in the corridor study that was done, maybe 5-6 years ago, for this area. And so we are in alignment with that. We've been working with the county.
We actually had the city of Carver in, was it last week? I don't know, something like last week to talk with them about coordinating the accesses. They'd like to have theirs moved over too.
We've had a number of conversations. So again, some more pieces that are included in this preliminary plat proposal. Big Woods preservation on Outlot F, like I talked about, Outlot G for the parkland dedication, and then Outlot J pursuing those grant dollars. Access to the ravines in the Big Woods area are indicated on these red pathways. They also primarily serve as access points to the stormwater ponds, but then present the opportunity for folks to be able to utilize those to get back in these areas that we're working to preserve. Yeah, go ahead.
Nate, I'm sorry.
What'd you call me?
Yeah.
Don't tell him what you called him, he might be offended.
Whatever. City planner.
I've been called a lot of things, so it's fine.
What's the, I don't know what outlot it is, but on the south side of 61, what is that part of this development or is that separate?
Outlot M.
Okay,
Outlot M is part of the Friends property. And it is part of the acquisition that the developer is pursuing. However, the developer does not intend to pursue development on this location at this time. So it'll just be platted as an outlot and it'll be available. And likely, you know, something the city has, the neighboring property is also within the city of Chaska city limits. And so, you know, there may be an opportunity to combine things when that property is.
Carver was trying to talk us into letting it go over to Carver.
yeah, right. Okay.
Let's see, trails. So trails are planned on the north side of County Road 61, and also the east side of Savannah Way. So then that would be a good access point up to the planned school and also the park, which are both on the east side as well. Development will be created or completed in 3 phases is the developer's plan. So generally speaking, starting on this southern what did I do? Fast forward, there we go. On this southern portion, moving upward into this area of the development, and then last over on the eastern portion, or I'm sorry, the western portion, neighboring 212.
I assume that all construction access is coming off the county road there and going north into the property then?
Yes. Yep.
It wouldn't be coming down Savannah Way is the other way of asking that question.
No, so the northern leg of Savannah Way between what's being proposed here and County Road 44 does not yet exist. Although we have the right of way for it, we have not. The road does not exist, and there's no plan to build that prior to this development.
Okay.
So I'm going to walk you through here. We're still honing in on what exactly will be built, I guess, at those county road access points. There's interim options and then there's ultimate design options. So we are working with Carver County and the developer, and we'll need to be determining that in short order here. But that is an item of continued analysis. So the 2 options I'm showing on the top would be the interim. So this would be a 2-way stop where you have stops on either side of County Road 61. This would be the Savannah Way Collector Road extension coming, heading northward off of 61. And so then you would have a dedicated left and then a right and through on this side. And then you would have dedicated lefts coming off of the county road into the development as well. Similar onto the Carver side heading southward.
Okay, so there are dedicated lefts on the Mount Hope
Correct.
going whatever direction that is.
Yep, each direction would have
Okay.
dedicated lefts
Okay.
with it, along with a right and through. And then with stop signs on Savannah and Mount Hope Road.
So are the right and through the same lane?
Correct.
Okay, so
Yep.
if somebody was turning left and someone was turning right, someone going through would have to slow.
They would need
And
to slow
yield to
down
the
and
right.
yield to the right
Okay.
turn. Yep. So that would be the interim. The ultimate, we recognize it would need to be a roundabout. And that really gets driven by, at least to the north, that full connection of Savannah Way, the park and the school, being there and the traffic that those things would generate. But the question is, are we better off just, establishing that ultimate design from the onset? And that's kind of what's being evaluated at this time.
I think sorry.
Oh, go
Last time we talked about it, I feel like I mentioned the same thing, but I turn from, I have a family member that lives off Mount Hope, so I am at that intersection a lot.
Mhm.
And the sight lines, I know I've been told it's not true, but I turn there a lot and the sight lines are difficult.
Mhm.
So the stop sign option, even now, I realize like traffic may not support a roundabout for some time. It still feels like a much safer option, just knowing that I get nervous turning left there every time because I just feel like I'm gonna get slammed into, and then turning right when the sun's going, like the sight lines are just hard. So I guess that's my 2 cents, I'll say.
Okay.
Is this a county decision that they're gonna make, or are we providing input on this as well?
Both.
Yeah, we both need to be at the table and making that decision.
All right.
So there's a lot of aspects that come into it. There's the traffic warranting is one, but also, the fiscal side of things and being responsible with the dollars. So,
I mean, if they're ultimately want that, why wouldn't they do it before all the traffic?
Yeah.
And they're gonna have to improve this intersection quite a bit, and then they're gonna take it out and put a roundabout in later, right? Just.
We have to remember something though.
I know, it's the county.
No, we have to remember that if the county does this project, they're not gonna just focus on this section. They're gonna focus on the entire section going down all of 61 down into Chaska. And that's gonna kick in cost share. And we're already doing one very large county project right now. Trying to do 2 at once would be very straining. I get what you're saying as far as a logistical standpoint, but it's a concern that they've hinted towards moving towards doing the entire section, which I don't disagree logistically would make a lot of sense, but that'd be 2 very big county projects that we'd have some pretty massive.
Talking about 82nd?
Engler.
Oh, yeah.
That go all the way to Big Woods Boulevard.
That basically go all the way down to 44.
Yeah. Ultimately, I could imagine that the side road to Carver that has terrible angles gets closed, right? Like, I don't know if that's in the
That's
plan.
probably ends up being a roundabout.
Yeah, they have a lot of space there.
Oh, which one?
140.
Yeah.
We'll turn down into Carver.
Well, I know that the intent is for that intersection to be straightened out, to make that angle closer to a 90-degree. Whether that ends up being achieved through a roundabout or a stop sign, I'm not positive right now. But yeah, that making that a safer intersection would be part of the county's intention.
Not good now.
Yeah, it's a tough one. Yeah. This is moving on to that Narrows Canyon Trail secondary access. And so you've got the interim with the T intersection here. It'd be a one-way stop at the Narrows Canyon Road side of things. And you see the dedicated right going in, a dedicated left going in off of 61. But then that coming out piece would be for all directions at the stop sign at this point. The ultimate would be, you see this road right here. I think this is Lano Lane, I believe, coming out of Carver. The intention for Carver is that when development occurs south of 61, that it would generally realign it to come up and connect with this intersection. That ends up being a sightline improvement piece too. There's a lot of slope and grade change that's happening through this portion of the corridor. And I think Carver views that coming off and connecting with and making a full access at this location is better for everyone at the end of the day. So that's where you see the ultimate design. The intention is not to build obviously a 4-way intersection right there from the onset, because Carver won't have a road to connect. But at the same time, we're planning for it to make sure that things are being aligned correctly to achieve that goal at the end. All right, moving into the variance. So this variance is from our wooded steep slopes section of our code on the 30-foot no grade, no mow setback. And this is pertaining to the route that's being planned for Savannah Way. And this segment that's highlighted in yellow here would be crossing approximately where my mouse is on the larger site aerial, going through that ravine. So there's a number of criteria, and I'll walk you through the 3 criteria that we evaluate for a variance. Conditions that create a practical difficulty that would prohibit reasonable development without a variance. From staff's review, we find this request to be reasonable, as there's no reasonable alternative, and minimization of impact was done to the best of the ability. So the way that this is being built, it is utilizing a pinch point that already exists for what has been a farm access crossing of the ravine. And as you look at the site, there's no real other reasonable alternative given the alignment that needs to be achieved with the collector road. To go all the way around over here isn't a practical solution. And you'd be disturbing some wetlands over here anyway. The design also meets the city design requirements for the collector road. The second criteria would be conditions on the property that create a practical difficulty that are not present on similar sized lots in the same area or zoning district or zoning district. So the unique circumstances do exist. There's wooded steep slopes that really split the site, the north and the south portion, because they run completely east to west across the site. So that would be that unique circumstance. The comprehensive plan and the Southwest Chaska plan do define a north-south collector road to serve the Southwest Chaska area. So this is a critical link for our future traffic circulation. And a feasibility study was done to evaluate the placement of the road, meet safe traffic throughput, and minimize adverse impacts. So this is following the outcomes of that feasibility study and the guidelines that were set with that. Right of way to the north does establish a general path, so we know we need to connect at these 2 points, and so there's only so many ways to achieve that.
What are they allowed to do there? Put in like box culverts? Do they keep?
Yep, that'll be the yep. So the criteria 3, relationships with the abutting property that will not be adversely affected by the variance or alter the essential character of the locality. Staff does not find that the essential character of the locality will not be altered. The roadway infrastructure needed to support the Southwest Chaska development is necessary, and location is consistent with the long-range plans, the comprehensive plan, and the Southwest Chaska plan. So we are consistent with the direction of the character that those plans create. So that's the variance. Parkland dedication. I think I've walked through that pretty well at this point. Although to add the detail, our ordinance calls for 10% of the gross development area to be dedicated for parkland dedication and development. And that can be achieved either through acreage or fees, right? So if we were to apply the total acreage, that would be 10.35 acres, and that's because of the gross acreage of this development. Outlot G provides 4.01 acres of parkland credit. And so that's where the remaining park dedication would be collected in fees. And so the city is actively working with the developer to define that fee amount. And that will be defined by the time we come back for final approval. The June 11th Park and Recreation Commission did review the parkland dedication plan here, and they did recommend approval of the direction of the parkland dedication. So again, that acreage is up in this area, which is the northern portion of the site, most directly adjacent to the school and the city parkland property that's already owned up there. This is showing a little more detail around the big woods preservation that's being achieved on the site. Reminder that Outlot J is still not a certainty. We are pursuing grants with that. And we recently actually received notice that we're moving to a next step of review on one of them. So it's a positive sign. So we'll keep pursuing that, and hopefully we'll get the outcome that we're working towards there.
That didn't happen. It's not being proposed to develop. They'd still own it. They could then choose to do something different with it or
Yeah, so this,
nothing with it for a while or.
yep, that ends up being the developer's discretion, right, on how they want to proceed there. You know, one of the options that we've talked about and laid out in the staff report as well is that, you know, if the city is not able or interested in purchasing that developable portion, you know, that which isn't preserved by the steep slopes or wetland ordinances, the developer does have the opportunity to pursue development on that. This plan isn't showing that because I think the developers wanting to, and they've been great about working with us to try and achieve the goal. I think that we all share. But, you know, we've talked about if the money isn't there, if the grants don't work out, and that development opportunity exists, the developer could come back with another preliminary and then subsequent final plan to talk about how that would look and work through the process to look at developing that acreage.
I think one thing that's important to understand is how this development is actually going to develop. Your natural thought is that it's gonna start at the top and move down. It's gonna start at the bottom and move up. And so there's gonna be some time for that to catch up.
I was just thinking that, yeah.
Yeah, so I mean, I think it's a great sign that we're in the, you know, next stage of the grant application process now, but we may have a couple opportunities with that.
The landscape plan here, it's a new neighborhood, right? So you're going to see landscaping in the boulevards with trees. They're proposing 678 new trees. And they do need to incorporate boulevard trees along Savannah Way as well. And that'll be, you know, part of what will come together here for that final approval.
Do we require mixed varieties now for trees?
Only ash.
Yeah.
That's what we used to do. After the elm died.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, yeah, we do work to achieve some diversity, for the exact reason that Matt.
I know we do. I just didn't know if on these, you know, developments that we force the same thing.
Here's some examples of, you know, the types of homes that you might see developing out here. Four Star is not a builder. They will work to develop the lots and then work to find builders to proceed with that development of the homes themselves. So that builder or builders have not been identified yet. But, you know, this is to kind of illustrate the type of home that you might see pursued.
No villas?
No villas are being proposed.
Mark.
So things to work on for final would be making sure that the boulevard trees along Savannah Way are all set. Maintenance access to be placed into the outlots. Making sure that those are set. They do need to obtain the necessary reviews and approvals with the county and with TEP for stormwater and wetlands. We will work towards Carver County approval of County Road 61 access in that design, and then acquisition of necessary easements for utility extensions will be part of what needs to occur as well.
What's TEP? Sorry, we're just discussing, trying to remind you what acronyms. We're talking about acronyms tonight.
Yeah. I haven't heard that one.
So TEP, although I can't recall what it stands for, I do know that they oversee situations where wetlands are being disturbed through development. And so they work with developers, and they're part of the state
Evaluation panel.
technical evaluation panel.
That can't be it. That doesn't sound like it's right at all.
Which
Okay.
describes well what they do. They technically evaluate
Yes, okay, cool. All right.
sort of disruptions and make sure that you know, all the rules and regs are being followed at the state level on that.
Awesome.
So the planning commission action was taken on June 12th. They recommended the city approve the Friends and Warm Properties preliminary plat with a 7-0 vote. There were 3 conditions that did get clarified through that review. And those conditions are outlined here on the slide. And then as it pertains to 29, working with the city attorney, they did advise that we slightly clarify that to say providing cash in lieu of land as determined at the final approval and memorialized in the development agreement. So that is what you see in the approving resolution this evening, is that wording for number 29. Planning Commission also recommended approval of the rezoning from open to the planned residential district 86, and that was a 7-0 vote. And then they also recommended approval of the variance request for construction of the collector road encroaching into the area of steep wooded slope and 30-foot no grade, no mow setback. So the motions, there's 3 of them in front of you tonight. The first one would be to approve the preliminary plat. The second one to approve the variance, and then the third to approve the ordinance to rezone the property. With that, I'd take any questions.
Questions for, what's his name?
I have a question for Nate.
Thank you.
If you can go back to the map of the neighborhood proposed. Yeah, that one's great. So, in regards to the parkland dedication, is there a proposal to build a park as part of it? You said part of it was developable, or are we just conserving that because of the community park up in the upper area that's not shown?
Yeah, so I think the intention here with the parkland dedication component, so that would be the outlot G up here.
Yes.
So maybe 2 points on that. The intention is to preserve the big woods. There's not intention to use this as part of the program park, which is the intention for what the city currently owns to the north, right? That's all currently farmed acreage. There's not really trees to preserve there, and so that's where we would.
I also think it falls within our definition of a walkable area to a park. So we want to have a neighborhood park within playground within a half-a-mile walking distance.
Well, that brings me to my comment.
Mhm.
The neighbors that are going to be on the southern end of this, I feel like that's a pretty far away, a ways. And with the community park being so big and knowing that it's gonna have ball fields, Miracle Field, where's the playground gonna be situated in that? We don't know. I'm worried that those first neighbors that are down at the lower end on the southern side, it's gonna be so far away for them. And I don't know if there's like room to have a tot lot or something, like in the little open space that's between, I can't read the numbers, but
A challenge of that is the balance of how do you preserve the big woods and also preserve enough dollars to be able to develop the park that serves the whole area. We can do that, but all that does is it takes away from that pot of dollars, which potentially preserves less of the big woods and potentially provides less to develop the park that's going to serve the broader area.
I know, but I just think about quality of life for these residents in this neighborhood. And I know that if I was buying a home, granted, these are gonna be very nice houses. I'm sure a lot of these individual homeowners will probably purchase a playground set in their backyard. But that being said, those that can't afford that, but maybe can afford the home, I don't know. I just think a walkable area somewhere in there for something small, at least, would be a benefit, but those are just my thoughts, whatever they're worth.
I definitely hear what you're saying. I think I just bring it up because it is the tug and pull is that we can, but we're gonna have to give up something.
This area, in the comprehensive plan. So in the comprehensive plan, we do have park search areas, identified. The comprehensive plan, and as it pertains to this area, considers the community park as the park meeting the park level service, right? That our policies call for. So there is no neighborhood park, search area or designated area in this portion of town. The thought has been that the community park would serve that function. And I get what you're saying.
It's a pretty far walk.
It's not a whole lot different though. It's not a whole lot different though than Sconce Woods and your neighborhood.
Yeah, I was just
over
trying,
there.
I can't figure distance, but like.
It's
if you
about
think-
the same
If you think of
distance.
it where we just approved a Scott's Wood, they'd come through Founder's Path and down. You know, I mean, if you think that's a wrong, two wrongs don't make it right. I get that, right? But, but I was curious. That's a good perspective. 'Cause I was trying to think about, because like my neighborhood doesn't have a neighborhood park. The community park that's gonna be developed fits that.
Right.
Now, I am personally situated much closer to that community park than in Scott's Woods, but in Scott's Woods, I mean, I've taken that walk down there, and if you get deep into that space, you're a ways away from that space.
Well, and the challenge is if you start putting them closer, you start creating precedent for future neighborhoods, and with a limit, statutory limit of 10% parkland dedication, you just don't have enough resources to be able to do that without using resources other than parkland dedication.
Also, there's an ongoing cost too.
And an ongoing cost of maintenance.
That's fair. I appreciate that comment, Joe. Are you done with your comment?
I mean, yeah, I mean, my comment is what it is. I don't really feel any differently about it, but fine.
Sorry. I got more of a curiosity question. The developer may be the appropriate person to answer. So, because you had referenced that they're not a builder, they work to develop land. This many lots, I suspect that typically that's probably a big national builder, but I'm just curious if that's how you see it. I don't need names. It doesn't really matter. I'm just kind of curious if that's more of a national, like a big builder, or you see, a whole bunch of small builders that come in that. I'm just kind of curious. With that many, I feel like it's probably a larger builder, but just kind of curious.
It will be first of all, Steve Gardner. Yep. Real Estate Investment and Development Director for Four Star. Thank you for having us here today. Been working a long time to get here, so it feels good to finally be at approval stage. So thank you for taking the motion into consideration. As far as the builder, it would be for this community of the 162 lots, it would be, excuse me, one builder. I do not intend to go with multiple builders, so it will be consistent architecture throughout. It will most likely be a national builder with this size of a development. There are several that are interested right now, so until I am in development and all the costs are known and so on and so forth, at that time, I'll start taking offers for lots.
Yeah, that answers my question. I appreciate that. Thank you.
So we saw this as a concept. The sewer and water was an issue. It's not now because of farther down. Is that what changed now?
I don't know that, there's not sewer and water connected to this site today. Presently, sewer and water, as the city had originally planned it, would be located at the end of Percheron Boulevard. Kind of as it's intended to connect with the collector road. And the intention then was to bring sewer and water down through that collector area that the city has to connect to this site. The water still for this development still needs to come from that location. The sewer, we have found through, looking into this deeper, that there's an opportunity to connect to the sewer interceptor line that follows generally
The trail.
Yeah, the Minnesota Bluffs
It
Trail.
goes over to Carver.
Yeah, so there's a Met Council interceptor line that goes through that corridor. And so what we're now looking at would be pursuing is to bring sewer from there. That still is a distance, right? That needs to generally follow up 61 to get to this site. The nice thing about it is it would allow, and it connects better with the progression and the phasing that the developer is intending to pursue. And results in the end of the day with a sewer system that's fully gravity fed, and avoids the need for a lift station.
There'd have to be a lift station on that south.
Right,
Correct.
right.
That was one of the deciding factors, and that's why we're developing south to north, is the sanitary location. With Met Council having a stub at that location and being able, because we were actually most likely in conversations with Matt Clark, it looked like we were gonna potentially have 2 lift stations for the site to get it up to the park location and then drain, which nobody wants mechanical lift stations if they can be avoided. So through looking into it, discussions with Met Council, we're going to be able to go that route, tie into there. And then as we discuss further in final plat, there will most likely not be a need for the city to bring the sanitary all the way down Savannah, because I'm going to be pitched south. And the sanitary in North Savannah will be pitched the other direction up to our Big Woods Boulevard.
I come straight up 61 on the east side.
Yeah,
Yeah, north side of 61.
I
zoomed out for that.
Okay.
Yep.
Yeah, so, I swear I had better.
The last one, actually,
This one? This one maybe.
that one there
So-
actually is the best.
Kind of down in here is where we would connect. And then generally, you go under 61 and follow, generally speaking, the right of way to get up
Right away.
to the developer.
But once you go
This property.
south, once you go toward the river from 61, whatever direction it is. Whose property is that? How are we gonna get access to get, I mean, I know we don't have to go far, but
Mhm.
I know Lano owns some of that corner, and I know the city owns part of that, or
I believe it's
it belongs.
Brockmeyer.
There's, Brockmeyer's own property down in this area. Yep, so
They own that strip that is between the trail and 61.
there will be easements that need to be obtained, as we work through that final, alignment. So that'll be part of what needs to be achieved for this project.
Interesting way to look at it, but yeah, eliminates lift stations. We don't need those. We don't need them.
Temporary lift stations tend to be around for decades. They don't become so temporary.
Anybody else questions? I think that's all I had.
Responsible for having developers start offering houses, so you don't get the first residents in.
Well, it depends on. We're gonna continue to diligently work with staff on the developer agreement and final plat. There's a lot of questions that still need to be answered, especially with the collector road. Coordination and timing with that. But ideally, you would be looking at home sales beginning about this time next year. And first residents before the end of 25. Take me about 6 months to develop, and then the developer would start building their model. Usually about 90 days after the start of the model, they would open for sales.
Oh, thank you.
And then Nate, with that. Where we're granting the variance for the steep slopes, is that gonna come back and get us in any way? I know that we got the criteria
Mhm.
that meets that, but is
Mhm.
that gonna open up anything for future councils as far as we did it here, why can't we do it there?
Yeah, a couple things on that. I think for one, this is a collector road that's, defined by our comprehensive plan and defined in our traffic plan, right? Is a critical link to manage the circulation that's going to happen for Southwest. So part of that evaluation here for the variance is the fact that, you know, this is a collector road. There are no other collector roads, at least currently, right, planned for Chaska, that would need to come close to crossing anything like a ravine. Well, I take that back. On the west side, if we do that connection through the Razor property, there would be one there.
That's a road I don't
Yeah.
ever build.
We are evaluating that. I digress. But I do think that, you know, the status of it being a collector road and called for by the comp plan is different from what would be a more likely scenario with a neighborhood road. You know, requesting a crossing or something like that, which those are two completely different purposes, in my opinion. So there's that. The other piece is, this is an example of why we are pursuing the updates that we are with our zoning code and how our planned use district section of our code functions and currently, you know, kind of ties our hands a little bit, has been causing us to need variances. The thing that triggered the need for the variance was tonight's rezoning. And so if we were going through a planned use, you know, district process that didn't quite have, you know, the nuance that our code has in it, we would have been able to handle that without a variance request.
All right, anyone else? Questions, our only next steps are moving forward. Is there anyone, we got 3 motions we have to do, and I'm gonna take them in the order they are in my packet. And the first one would be 2024-56, approving preliminary plot for High Point Vistas 162 lot subdivision.
So moved.
Motion by Councilmember Wong,
Second.
second by Councilmember McGraw. Again, this is for 2024-56 preliminary plot for High Point Vista. Discussion. Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Post same sign. Motion carries. Next, we have resolution 2024-57, approving a variance to encroach into the wooded steep slope and a 30-foot no grade, no mow setback for construction of a new collector road. Savannah Way.
So moved.
Motion by Councilmember Hubbard,
Second.
second by Councilmember Hatfield. Discussion. Again, this is 2024-57, and that's a variance to encroach in wooded steep slope. Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Post same sign. Motion carries. Our third one is ordinance 1047, rezoning property for High Point Vistas from O, open space development zoning district, to PRD-86, planned residential development district number 86. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Motion by Councilmember Roth,
Second.
second by Councilmember Wong. Again, for ordinance 1047, rezoning property from O to PRD 86. Discussion. Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Post same sign. Motion carries. You're done. That, thank you. Thank you all. Pretty up, well, yeah. Oh, a lot of people for that one. Wow. Everybody's full.
Except for the
One person.
All right, next we move on to, motion to adopt resolution 2024-55, approving the concept plan for Hazeltine Golf Course Performance Center.
Mayor and Councilmember, this is one you may think you've seen before, but we haven't officially seen it before. Is Hazeltine National Golf Course Performance Center. This would be a performance center tied into the villas that they're currently going through the planning process on, and also the short course. This did go through the planning commission with recommendation for approval of the concept plan. I'll turn it over to Nate to go through the presentation.
Council members, like Matt said, I'll be showing you the Performance Center proposal here for Hazeltine National Golf Club, and this is a concept plan. So to remind you where Hazeltine National Golf Course is.
What? What? We have a golf course?
Southwest corner of 100 Mark Road and Hazeltine Boulevard. You've got the apartments that are being built across the street. Hazeltine Shores Apartments, Carver's Green Townhomes, our very own Loop Golf Course to the north. This area that's outlined here is the area where you recently saw a proposal for some, I guess, rental villas that Hazeltine is intending to add in addition to a 10-hole short course. The addition here is a performance center, which is another building that would be added in this general area. Closer to what is the driving range is where this building's proposed. Again, we have our 3-step process. This was in the concept plan, is where we're at tonight with it. I just reminded you of the concept plan that came through in March. It's also received preliminary in May, and that is for those villas that Hazeltine is pursuing. Again, this is the existing conditions on the site. Today, this is an open field, generally planted. I think it's maybe alfalfa, but they've used it in the past for large event parking and things like that. That's what it looks like. So tonight we've got a performance center totaling approximately 9,000 square feet, about 23 feet tall. That's being proposed as an addition to this project. So this is the location, as you see outlined in orange. It'd be a members only performance center. It'd have indoor and outdoor simulators and hitting bays, an indoor putting and chipping area, small dining and lounge. It'd be west of the existing driving range. With the addition of the villas and things, you might recall there's also some parking that's being added to the site. This project is not, this specific proposal here for the performance center is not proposing additional parking on top of that. It's Hazeltine's proposal, it's staff's general agreement at this point, that the parking that's being added would be sufficient to serve both this performance center and the villas that are going in, and then some. So,
Can you back
Go
up?
ahead. Yep.
I'm sorry, but as you were talking about that, there's really nowhere to park by this performance center, is there? You must take a golf cart to it?
yeah, so Hazeltine's vision is that this is really kind of a campus type opportunity, right? So people who are coming, their members would park in the lot here, and they're, maybe going up into the clubhouse, or they're gonna, come over here to the performance center. Folks who are staying on site would be using golf carts and things. So it ends up kind of being more of a campus experience rather than coming to park for one specific use.
Okay, and I'll go back to what I generally say is this what happens if they change the use of this? Or they start parking that cul-de-sac full of cars and you can't get emergency vehicles through there. And if I'm not mistaken, isn't there that sets down pretty low? Cause that talked a little bit about in our last time.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, is it anything we need to be concerned about if it's a change use? Do we see an issue?
I think that like any other changed use, we'd be looking at the zoning, what it permits, and whether it's within that permitted zoning or not.
What if they made it a rental center for weddings,
For weddings.
wedding venue?
They do have weddings on site today.
I mean, what if they use this as a separate venue? Is it gonna come back and bite us in any way?
Yeah. Well, I think, Mayor, the important thing is that this is as we're looking at it, this is a membership only kind of experience as they're currently looking at it, right? So that.
Yeah, and I think the way they're setting up the building is that it'd be pretty tough to use it for other types of things.
Yeah.
I just, like I said, I look at it and you know, I'm certain that a performance center like this is going to be very active with a club like this. But I was just looking at, for some reason, it changed. And then all of a sudden they're parking that full and because it's raining, you know, nobody wants to walk or whatever it might be, so. If we're confident and good with it, I'm fine.
I think, you know, as we proceed to preliminary, one thing we can talk to them about is ensuring that, you know, this drive remains that, right? And that
Yeah,
emergency access piece is gonna be an important component of what they're doing there. So I see your
Isn't
point.
that access for one of the villas too? Off of that? Was it, if I'm not mistaken, wasn't the last villa off of that?
Yeah,
Because that's why they had to put that there anyways?
there's two villas off of here.
Oh, way down there. Oh,
So
okay.
there's a pathway that'll get folks there. This pathway will also serve as access for, there's some utilities that come through this area as well. So that's something else that we're talking about with them, is making sure that the pathway can serve that maintenance need long term.
Well, a lot of what they do too is ballet type stuff there too.
Yeah, no, and like I said, I know they're changing it because it's gonna be gated, so that's gonna change a lot of things. But like I said, I don't know, I just always, when I see no parking close by, I always worry about, what about a change of use, you know? I mean, anything can happen in this crazy world we live in, but, okay.
Now, looking at this map there, I'm just trying to vision, realistically, this building doesn't, and maybe you're gonna get to it, because there's sight lines. There's not a lot of good, there's not a lot of sight lines in public space. Right? Like I can't, you know, I'm just trying to, you know, they're gonna make it look fine. I'm not worried about that. But when you think about it, like you're not driving down a city road and you can see it just because it's kind of
Yeah.
middle of their
Did
property.
it quite a bit to bolster the berming along 100 Mark Road recently. And as part of their villa project and short course project, they are going to be incorporating some berming along Hazeltine Boulevard. So this building does sit lower relative to some of these other areas on the site. It certainly sits lower than where the clubhouse is. The clubhouse is probably the most visible feature from outside, and even that's kind of.
Even that's not terribly visible.
No, not anymore.
Yeah.
Trees.
Okay, yeah, I assume that, but if people are wondering, and again, I don't have any concerns. It's not gonna be a good looking building by any means. But just kind of curious.
So here's some precedent images, and this is really the level of detail that we get to at a concept phase. But the sort of materials and design that they're thinking about at this time is intended to be conveyed through these photos. And you can see some of the thoughts that they have as it relates to the interior of the building as well. So some of it would be, you know, kind of driving range indoor type space that's actually feeding into the outdoor driving range space as well. So things to work on for preliminary, I guess the biggest thing that we're talking about them with is with these kind of two similar overlapping applications that are going through right now. We have asked, and they've, you know, Hazeltine has agreed that they would bring the preliminary site and building plan for this performance center along simultaneously with the final site and building plan of the village and short course piece, just so that we're at a high enough level of detail on both that we can be sure that they're both working together in a way that, you know, we're okay with. And then, you know, they can bring that final plan for this performance center at a later time.
So help me remember again, because we saw the concept for the villas and the 9-hole, and then the performance center. So after they created that, then the performance center came into view, and then we kind of talked briefly about it, that it would come in. Is that kind of what happened there? The performance center was just all of a sudden, hey, we should do that?
Yeah, the staff became aware of the performance center after the concept for the villas and short course had already been approved, and as they were moving forward with preliminary for that piece. And so you might remember preliminary came for that, I think it was in May. And at the time we talked about this performance center coming and that we would want to see these things paired together at the preliminary final stage.
That's right. I forgot. I missed the concept. So that was preliminary that I saw. That's right. I kept thinking it was concept. I'm sorry.
Yep.
That's right. I was.
But we're not talking about that final plan tonight. We're
No,
just,
that final plan is not this evening. That'll come. Was that submitted already?
What would be,
Getting ahead of
and
myself.
what would be different is that typically finals are through consent.
Finals-
This would not necessarily be through consent because we would pair it with the preliminary in this case.
We still haven't fully figured out exactly what process we'll follow, whether we'll have one on consent and one on, either way, I mean, everything's gonna get
Yeah,
discussed.
again, I understand you want to make sure they work together because,
Well,
as we just discussed, there's villas here, there's a performance center
I
here.
mean, you have to do the construction all together.
Yeah,
or
yeah,
you're
yeah,
gonna have a mess.
Okay.
And to your point, Mayor, oftentimes the concept and preliminaries get confused because most applicants haven't, just in general, including this one, haven't been really creating concept plans that really were the spirit of the way concept plans are supposed to be, which is a lot rougher, a lot more like sort of back of envelope sketching of like, hey, this is what we're kind of looking for. So, that concept plans are supposed to be a lot rougher, but people keep pushing them forward a lot closer because they're hoping they're gonna like get them through faster, right? So different conversation, but just a general comment on that. So I was there for the whole, process build out. So
All right, questions? Anyone else? All right, then we have out there is to adopt resolution 2024-55. Approving concept plan for Hazeltine Performance Center.
So
I just have a general question, more out of curiosity. And plus I just want to get you potentially involved in the back. What is the like last major build or renovation that Hazeltine done? I mean, would it be I'm just kind of curious because it's exciting that the investment and everything like that. I'm just more curious. I know the clubhouse was rebuilt. Maybe that's the last major, but like when you look at major investments in Hazeltine, when's the last time one of this nature has come forth? I'm just kind of curious.
So I'm Chris Zeman with Zeman Construction. I'm the general contractor and I'm representing the applicant today. But I've also been fortunate to do all of their construction work. So is your question relating to brick and mortar or in general major renovations?
You can do major renovations that move a lot of dirt for golf course too. So I'm just kind of.
Yeah, exactly.
I would say
their golf course work has been ongoing, for many years. And they continue to refine the golf course. Last year, they did a project on the back side of their clubhouse. It was an expansion to their food and beverage of their dining patio. The prior year, they built a beverage hut on the golf course as well. And then in 2009, 2010, the clubhouse was built.
So that's probably like the last, in theory, brick and mortar large.
And besides the.
and they redid
They
redid the entire course too around that same time.
Okay, it's just more out of curiosity than necessary tied to this, but sure. I mean, it's good to see continued reinventing, adding, changing to attract the clientele and interest that they need, because I think, again, that continues to be a good focus and good for the city of Chaska too.
Ready, any other questions? All right,
Thank you.
thank you. So then again, we'd be looking for a motion, 2024-55 approving concept plan for the performance center.
So move.
Motion by Councilmember Wong,
Second.
second by Councilmember Hubbard.
Yeah.
Yep. Discussion? Hearing none, all in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Both same side. Motion carries. We are. It's the last. Thank you. All right, we move.
Now we have nobody.
Oh, now we have nobody. All by rules. So now we have bills. Anyone got a question on?
Yep, I got a few questions, so try to keep it quick. Page 2, there's an item for ASCII properties.
It's a final 50% fire suppression, then it gets cut off.
So that's the holding company for Red Bench.
Oh,
So that's their fire suppression for their new speakeasy.
gotcha.
Is there a opening date?
He told me that he was shooting for right after the 4th of July. So, I don't know, you're best friends with him, so you know.
Oh. That knows better than I do, so. Okay, and then page 9, there's an item for Donley Underground. The question was that, it shows like there's fiber project for public something. Is this for high-speed access that residents would use, or is it?
No, this is a fiber that we had to extend to the Public Safety Center as part of the construction there.
Sorry, making notes here. And then page 21, there's Trays Inc., which is I found a Dun & Bradstreet record for an automobile dealer in Hibbing, and which the only thing that seems to make sense for a Chevy Tahoe.
Nope,
but
that's exactly what
is
it
that
is.
what it is? Is that
So they're under a state contract.
okay?
And so 2 vehicles we just got through a state contract through them.
So that's just a bidder for the state contract,
Yep.
and that's who it is. That's just their DBA. Okay,
Yep.
great. And then page 32, Wheeler Lumber. Did they mean a Gambian wall, or is it something different?
Yeah, it's a Gambian wall or Gabian wall.
Gambian wall.
But it's that rock,
Gabian wall.
it's that rock wall outside the clubhouse at the loop.
Okay, gotcha. So, yeah, so it's just
Yeah.
like the typo and what it was. Okay,
Yeah.
gotcha. Cool. That's all I got. Thank you.
Motion to pay bills?
So moved.
Motion by Councilmember Wong,
Second.
second by Councilmember Grah. Discussion? Elise, we call roll?
Councilmember Hatfield? Yes. Councilmember Hubbard?
Yes.
Councilmember Wong?
Hi.
Councilmember Brown?
Yes.
Mayor Winchell?
Yes. All right. Councilmember Hatfield, you're up.
All right, some events coming up. Coffee with a Cop on the 26th at 9 AM at Red Bench. That's always a good one. Cones with a Cop on June 27th, 11 AM at McDonald's. Fire and Ice is coming up July 12th and 13th. And then the registration just opened for Night to Night. That'll be open through July 8th, and it's on Tuesday, August 6th. So there's some events coming up. I didn't name them all. I'll leave some for everyone else. I don't know if we knew this, but the Waconia Patriot is now just the Patriot. And I've seen them covering some Chaska news in there. So that is something. So that is good to see. And then really my last thing was at the Downtown Business Alliance meeting on last Friday morning. The Shakopee Medical, why can't I say that word? Thank you. I think I can normally say it. I just got nervous about saying it. So, and MnDOT, so SMSC is the easier way to say it. And MnDOT, presented their plans for the railroad crossing that's on 41 south of the river. And it's in the biweekly too, but, presented their plans to that. And so, that's supposed to start July 8th.
So things have changed
Okay.
during our meeting. So I've been in contact with Steve Albrecht during our meeting. So I got good news and bad news. So no, I'm gonna start with the bad news because that'll make the good news seem better.
I think I know what bad news is going.
So the bad news is
Clark's gonna lose money?
I don't know.
Clark says it won't close.
No, it's.
Yeah, he's gonna lose money then. The bad news is you can hear it raining outside and 41 is gonna close at 9 AM on Thursday morning. The good news is that the tribe is going to take advantage of this closure of the river, of the road from the river. And they're gonna try to get as much of the stuff done as they can during this closure. The only thing that they can't get done is the railroad stuff with Union Pacific, but the railroad stuff was only 1 week. So So that could be huge if we could take advantage of having them use this closure for it, so.
Well. And is Med walking into the 41 side of that then? That's
Yeah.
there, so that would be,
Yep, they're doing everything.
still can't figure that one out.
Yeah,
It's a co-op project. It's no.
Yeah, I know, but they give it to a non-city county entity.
It's, they view it as another governmental entity that they're working with. But I mean, it's still, obviously, the bad news is the road's still closed, but I'm very happy that they took it upon themselves to do that.
Yeah.
It's good, really good.
and also I just wanted to, the real reason to bring it up was for awareness, because I was seeing on social media today that there were rumors about it being 5 weeks. So whatever it may end up being, they kind of committed to 3 weeks, but the real reason I wanted to bring that up was for awareness and just to commend city staff for your guys' work, with those parties to bring it down from that 5 week initial estimate to something that is a little bit better, certainly for our businesses that have been impacted over the last year. And this was sort of another blow to them, and could be something they may not survive. They survived last year, and this, you just never know what a business is going through. So, I just wanted to say thank you to staff for working so hard on that, so. But that's also, bad news that the river's flooding, but great news that they're willing to.
Thank you.
Yeah, make it that, I would read that one off.
Yeah, it's better than alternative, closing,
absolutely.
opening, and then reclosing.
Yeah.
Afraid it's gonna happen anyways.
Well, it will, but it just won't be for as long of a time period.
But the longer the duration is closed, the more it's a consistent hit for businesses, right? So, yeah.
I mean, I've had a lot of conversations with MinDOT about this project, and I always thought there was gonna be a change in it, but nothing ever changed, so it's kind of disappointing when I talked to the metro supervisor at our tab meeting, said, this is great, this is stupid. I mean, we never got involved with the process, so as you can tell, I'm a little frustrated with the
Well,
project.
I mean, I think if they were to look in retrospect, they realize that not doing it last summer was a big mistake.
Yeah.
And then we come back now, and then we get down, and then we have the county, whenever they decide to do 41. And Engler, that'll be another closure. It doesn't ever,
We're sitting down and talking with them too.
but it never looks bad on the county or MinDOT. It's the city that caused the problem, and that's the frustrating part to me.
I'm using capital letters, not on a project.
And I know, but we can say that until
I
we're
know.
blue in the face, but it's the city that's doing it. It's unfair because we didn't get a lot of say in this project. I mean, we told them, you were here when they were here last year. We said, get it done while we're closed.
And it was
Well,
a
they
lot shorter.
when they
Yeah.
said, we'll get it done,
Yeah.
then they initially
They
said
didn't
we
do
did
nothing.
nothing. They didn't.
So that's,
Instead of the proposed development, city of Chaska, we should say not the proposed development.
Yeah.
Put the opposite signs right there.
There is a website, so it's shockpdakota.org, and then there's a button for it. So if you want details on they are there.
can I write complaints?
Yes, sure.
Mhm.
They do have emails on there for
I'm sure his email address.
for those, so.
I will say though that hats off to the Shakopee tribe. They were the ones that stepped up to make things better. They put more money in the table and had been responsive towards things. I don't, if they wouldn't have been involved in that, it would have been 5 weeks.
To not bury the lead there again for everyone at home. When is the 41 closing?
So 41 is closing Thursday morning, this Thursday at 9 AM. And we don't really know.
That's really early
They had originally anticipated it was gonna be this weekend, but if you look, I was just looking at the.
Are they taking into the weekend account to say
Well-
that? Is that more kind of fluid and?
They got so much rain.
Well, I looked at
It's bad.
the map that, our rain map that just got updated, and it's like 6+ inches in the next couple days. So there's a lot of rain coming.
I had, what did I have? 1, 2, 3, I had almost 4 inches.
Yeah.
For the weekend.
Yep.
So yeah, that was that. That's all I had. Yeah,
Well, you started to talk well enough with it. so.
I know. Sorry.
Oh, is
You're
it
up.
me? Okay,
Yeah,
give
you're
me a
up.
second. I was prepared.
Want me
and
to
then-
text you?
Nope, we're
Okay.
good. Okay, couple of
checking.
events, since, she left some open.
Yeah.
Appreciate that. I will pass that along down the line. This Saturday, is the Chaska Pride Celebration. That's happening this year in the Veterans Park. And it's from 3 to 6 PM. That's, our Human Rights Commission puts this on every year. It's a wonderful family-friendly event. I think there'll be ice cream and some art and like with the tie-dye, and I think the library is gonna be there. So I think there's yoga this year, or llamas, or both. Anyways, sounds like a
Yoga for
wonderful.
Yoga for llamas?
Yoga
No,
for
not-
llamas?
Not
When did
yoga.
they start that
Llama,
now?
llama red
You can do-
pajama.
You can do yoga with llamas. Maybe that's one of the
Yeah.
things, but
Maybe.
no. So anyways, it'll just be a great event. Let's see. This is not City of Chaska, but the same day, the Carver County Sheriff is actually having an open house down at the sheriff's office. It's on the 22nd, Saturday at 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. So you can definitely make both in your plan. But it just looks like they'll have some equipment out, and they get to meet some staff. I think I'm proud of this because, my husband works down at the detention center, so that sounds like some of the different areas of the sheriff's office will be out there as well.
Was this
So-
like a touch a truck that's in the parking lot?
Yeah,
or-
I think so. And then you get to
Okay.
meet the staff, the deputies, canine detention, dispatch, the administration, emergency management. There'll be some tours of the jail and the dispatch. So anybody that wants to take those tours. So I just figured I'd mention it just because it's kind of right down the road. And then there is a Cubs game that is on, well, it's a tournament weekend. It's Friday night. And then Saturday afternoon.
Probably not happening.
It's gone. Never mind.
Not yet.
Well, it's
but
Not yet.
It's official.
Swimming pool.
It's already closed?
It's gonna be closing, I believe Friday morning. The park is.
Yeah, the Cubs supposed.
Is it gonna go over?
I missed
It's
that.
not gonna, I don't think it'll go over,
Okay.
but they gotta close it.
Easy to think we had very little snowpack too.
Well,
The river was really
moving
low.
along, last wonderful thing to mention, the Parks and Rec, is hosting a program for kids this summer. They're called CORE. It's their Chaska Outdoor Recreation Experience. It's something new that they've developed. It sounds like they worked to get some grant money. It's for ages 7 to 10. And it provides children with a vibrant and enriching summer experience that combines outdoor exploration, recreational activities, and educational elements. It aims to foster love for nature, encourage physical activity, and promote social development in a fun and supportive environment. It's supported by the DNR, No Child Left Inside grant. So I just thought it was a really cool opportunity. The session 2 that they have that they're going to run is on Tuesday and Thursdays from 9 a.m. to noon. And it runs from July 16th to August 1st. I think that's like about 3 weeks. So it's really not a huge commitment. I signed my child up. I thought it was really great. And I think they're looking for some more participants to put the program on. So I figure I'd give it a shout out here on our 1.2 million listeners.
You'll start to see that they're gonna start to do a lot more of the nature-based programming. Cause we really haven't done as much of that in the past, and so they're really starting to try to put a focus on some of that.
Yeah, so I just figured anybody who has their kids home for the summer and maybe has, didn't get into the camps that they wanted or anything. little opportunities out there for your kids, so. And then the last thing is just a heads up, road closure, another road closure, Bavaria, is closing, it closed today, up by Southwest Christian High School, and that will be closed until it sounds like mid of August.
Did it close
so-
today?
Well, that was what the
The
email.
sign said June 10th, but it's,
Oh, I saw
I just
the-
drove
I
down
saw-
it today. It was
oh,
open.
It was
No, that's
supposed
why-
to close today.
that's why I was
I
asking.
saw the notification, and so I just thought, it's just a heads up, cause,
It's,
that's a route for some folks,
it's gonna happen. there's no
and it will
doubt.
happen, so. But maybe with the weather, maybe it didn't close, so, anyways. Here's my half factual and half no.
Michael.
All right, thank you. Let's see. So Chaska Farmers Markets, Wednesdays, from 4 to 8 p.m., at least through August 21st. And there's no market on July 3rd because it's right before Independence Day. Then Chaska History Center Graveside Tales Tour, June 29th at Mount Pleasant. So if you haven't signed up for that already, you can sign up online, go to Chaska History Center website and find more information there on that one. They'll be having actors doing reenacting, playing the parts of former Chaska residents to learn a little bit about the history of Chaska. And River City Days is coming up on July 26th through 28th at Lions Park. Looks like it's going to be bigger and better than ever. So lots going on there. I believe Southwest Trans is also going to be having bus service there. So that way you don't have to actually park at Lions Park. You can park at the East Creek Park and Ride. And then from there, you just catch a shuttle over to Lions Park, which parking is a lot more convenient that
Yeah,
way.
I did that last year, it was really convenient.
So really good stuff. Also,
I'm gonna stop you right there. Are we doing a booth?
Yes.
What do we have? What's our topic? Do you know?
We haven't really talked about that yet.
They can come shop pies in our face. We know that's what it was.
Okay, you started.
I will.
Call me,
I'll be
let
first.
me know all this.
I will be gone that entire weekend.
Because of that
Because
No,
suggestion?
maybe, cause it's state-based, I have state-based. multi-
Actually, they want you. they want you
I might be
in a
around,
dunk
but-
tank too.
that'd be fun, I'd do that. But I will be in Chanhassen at the Gopher State
Oh, you're
baseball
close.
tournament. I could sneak between
Just gotta
games.
Go there and drag you out.
Yeah. I'll be ready to help any way I can.
and let's see, the USA Amateur Golf Tournament is August 12th through 18th. So that's also coming up. One of the one of the things that we almost had a chance to do is to catch Officer Janke before she retired. Give her final neighborhood visit for neighborhood watch meeting. And we had it scheduled for like the 21st of June, then we got rained out because we had that big rainstorm. So we missed Julie's last one,
Okay.
but because we rescheduled to a couple weeks later in June 11th, my neighborhood was fortunate enough to have Officer Godinez do his first one ever. So that was actually a lot of fun. So he did a great job. So, kudos to Martine and for hosting his first neighborhood watch meeting. And so he did a great job. And he actually, and just so you know, he actually gave us a quiz, which was like super hard. So I'll just say that much. I won't give away any of the questions. So if you ever take them off,
Give us a question.
Just one.
just one question. So he asked
What was
us,
your last name?
I don't know that one. So he asked us a question of so one of the questions he asked was, how many traffic tickets were issued in the city of Chaska in 2023?
5,427.
That's right. We're actually pretty close. So it was around around the 5,000 mark. Yeah. So yeah, I mean, if you did the math, it came out to about like 10 a day, right? So, but anyway, he gave like a few. It was a multiple choice, so you didn't have to come up out of the blue. But they were like not easy questions, so it was like it was a good quiz, and I don't think that anyone got a perfect score on that one. So, but it was well done. And we do have some questions that came up from the neighborhood meeting too that I thought I'd share here. So one of the questions that a lot of people asked was, what are the updates on Oak Ridge and the former hotel there? Is there any update on that?
Not really. I mean, they've continued to take potential users of this building through, but we haven't seen any solid plans come back yet.
So on that, that Norbert Lucas that takes all the pictures and drone pictures and stuff like that, he was out there and there was a couple of people that were very interested in that facility. You know, that's as much as I got. But they asked about parking. Where would they have parking? They took out that parking east, what I'll call it, along the east side of the building.
Oh, they did?
From the backside.
I mean, that's all been redone and it's all, so how would that place survive if there's no parking?
It was in the concept, or in the final plans where they'd have parking.
Costco lot?
No,
Oak Ridge?
yeah,
Yeah, there's parking that was part of that plan. I'm trying to get my card. Be sort of the north.
the northwest, or is it northeast?
kind of-
Yeah,
It's the other side of the building, around the back of the building. Yeah,
well, it's to the north of the
North.
building.
it's a pretty significant lot that's planned there.
But it's not there currently.
They haven't built it yet.
Okay,
Yeah.
so I was gonna say, I didn't know of any other lots other than the ones they took out. And one they send you up on a grassy area,
Yep, that's a switch.
which I think is all gone.
Yeah, that's gone.
He's picking on me
I
again.
didn't do anything.
I'm not saying another word.
So the Oak Ridge, there's a few others. One of them, like a number of people asked about, were concerned about speeding on Yellow Brick, which is the road between Hunter Mark and the high school, that kind of back road. So a number of people asked if, because when school lets out, and obviously it's summer break right now, but when school's in session, it lets out, the kids go like flying down. There are some people like saying that, they're speeding excessively down that road.
Yeah, so what we always tell people is if there is things they're experiencing in their neighborhood, to call the police department, and we'll schedule a time period for the speed trailer to go down there. So we'll first gather data, and it'll actually keep track of all the speeds that are going there. And then if there looks like there's an issue, then we'll schedule squads, to run shifts down there. So
Private property, can we do that?
That was the question. Yeah.
are you
I think-
Yellow Brick Road?
Yellow Brick, yeah.
Oh, Purple Brick.
So Purple Brick,
Road.
sorry, Purple
yes.
Brick, sorry.
The backside.
I was
Purple
wondering
Brick,
if you were
sorry.
thinking.
Yeah.
You're right. Thank you.
Yeah,
Sorry.
no,
That's a
we,
school road.
yeah,
Yeah,
no,
Purple Brick.
we can't do anything on Purple Brick Road. That's a school road.
That's a private property,
Yep.
so that one's the school has to
Yep.
do. So because someone asked like, well, if we have school resource officers out there who could enforce things on school property, why can't we enforce traffic there? So someone asked the question. I don't know.
Yeah, because it's not a public street.
You'd have to let the school know and then
Yeah.
maybe the school resource officer can sit there and just remind them to slow down. I don't think they can issue tickets in a parking lot unless it's,
Because it's private property.
as far as I know, I don't know.
Yeah,
And that road's not, the road's not in the best condition in general, so going fast is a perilous
You know what we're talking
situation.
about.
Yeah, but high school kids. right?
Understood.
Yeah.
Purple.
Yeah.
Brick.
Purple Brick.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Purple Brick, yeah, sorry.
But I think we can write a citation on private property. Yes. You can?
Yep.
Oh,
Okay,
well, then maybe.
Oh, there you go.
okay, so, yeah, so this would be like during school.
That is a
so
quiz question.
Good thing
Yes.
you were here tonight.
Thank you for answering that one. Okay, and then a number of people complained that the crossing at Purple Brick and Hunter Mark right there, and that there's a crosswalk right there is like really, really dangerous because people come flying by and they don't seem to slow down and don't stop for people who are trying to cross. So, that might be a speed trailer one too.
That's a busy road.
Yep, there's a lot of traffic there too.
Come around and over, and you're like, well, people, sorry.
Well, that's why someone like lost control
And
and
there's a
ran
park
into my
there
our
too,
monument
right?
site too. So
Yeah.
there's that. And then a number of quite a few people actually raised concerns about like the traffic at the corner of Hazeltine Boulevard and Hunter Mark, where that new market rate apartment complex is being built across from by the loop, right at that corner there. So that intersection.
Where the apartments?
Well,
being
see,
built?
well, basically, yeah, where the apartment is in that intersection right in front of the loop. A lot of people, and at least like
like 5, 6 people like mentioned like they thought it was like the traffic there was like getting to be kind of challenging, and they were really concerned about the apartment complex adding to the traffic, the traffic congestion at that intersection is there's more construction there. And then they heard about the, oh, by the way, there's the villas and stuff, but so that's like 16 units is not going to be the end of the world there, but the apartments are going to add, more volume. And I remember we talked about traffic at that time because we had to do a traffic study there too. But I'm not sure. I mean, like I said, I'm just getting feedback. A lot of people are really concerned about traffic at that intersection.
Is it
From the apartments being
Well,
built?
we think it'll be better once that other Kohl's entrance is open again, like the one
I would
that's gonna
think so.
pass through. So I feel like a lot of people are coming around, like that's the only way to get around there, and when that opens back up. Cause I see that, like when I go to like
Mhm.
Starbucks or Kohl's or whatever, that there is a lot more traffic. But part of me does feel like it's people trying to navigate and get around quicker because that.
So it's from
that-
Hunter Mark to the west is where the issue is?
Well, it's basically where it tees at the loop.
Yeah, but I mean, it's not, is the speeding coming out of Hazeltine?
I think he's stuck in less about speeding and more about volume.
Just the traffic, just the contention there.
Coming from like 41, I feel like. Well, both.
It's
It's both.
it's a divided parkway. I mean, it's safer there than most other roads. I don't know. I guess I look at it different.
I do think that when that apartment passageway goes through, that's gonna provide for multiple entrances into the parking lot there. I mean, cause clearly if people are there, they're probably going to those businesses.
Yeah, I
up
think
there.
that one of the things that they were especially concerned about was the crossing for pedestrians at the intersection too. Because
There wouldn't be any crossing for pedestrians there, cause there's no sidewalk on the other side.
so
Remember that we had that during the Hazeltine.
that's right. So there's no sidewalk in
There isn't, and no crosswalks.
because there's a sidewalk in the north because, well, is there?
No.
No, there's no sidewalk in the
There's
north.
no sidewalk on the
I
north.
saw someone walking, but they were walking in the grass. Okay, so there's no sidewalk either way. So basically no one's supposed to be walking there at all.
Yeah, the trail's on the south side. It goes right in front of McDonald's and in front of the apartment building.
But it turns at Hunter Mark.
It turns at Hunter Mark and goes south, so you never really cross the road.
So neither one of the corners actually has a sidewalk or crosswalk.
There's nowhere to go.
No.
Yeah, gotcha. Interesting. I just never, I think,
Unless you know when it crosses the loop, that would be the only.
yeah. So basically, if someone's going from the apartment complex to the loop, they basically there's no legal way to walk across the street there. Is that correct?
Yeah, I mean, there's not a crosswalk there because there's not a trail across there.
Okay, gotcha. Cool. Okay, well, that kind of answers that question then.
Over to the loop.
Yeah, because I could see like there's people.
Yeah, there's a
Is there?
pavement.
Oh,
There is.
And there's like a little bit of a
According
sidewalk by
to-
the loop. Yeah.
oh,
Yeah, there is actually.
But I agree though, that because it's divided, it would seem safer, because you're,
You got a
Yeah,
refuge
you
point in the
always have
middle.
you're
Yeah.
like a big refuge point, yeah.
Yeah,
I didn't know there was a crosswalk.
yeah, there is. Yep, you're right.
Drove it the other day.
Okay, so like I said, that's the concerns that were raised from the neighborhood meeting around those things. So that is all I've got. So thank you very much.
Okay. I'm gonna ask Matt to talk a little bit on the record here, a little bit on, it's in your notes, but it's exciting about the congressionally designated funding for 2025 federal budget. In particular, because I talked about tonight, have interest in the Southwest Chaska Community Park that's across the street from my house. And probably the most popular question I get from my neighbors of when that's being built. So I'll throw it over to you, because
Yes.
other than me reading notes, you'll summarize it much better.
so a couple things with that. First of all, we're just going through the process now. In fact, Nate and Marshall and I have a time set up to meet next week about sort of talking about how we're going to go about the process of getting sort of the planning done for that community, for the details of that community park. The goal is to try to start that next summer.
Start building or planning?
No, we'd like to be able to be in a position that we're planning from now through the winter, and so that we're actually moving dirt next summer.
Okay.
So the congressionally dedicated funding, so one of the things that we got hold of by Senator Klobuchar when she came to basically give us our EOC dollars from the congressionally dedicated funding for this year. We were talking about, what types of projects should we submit in going into the future, and we were talking about our Miracle League field and a universal playground and everything that was going to be part of this community park. And she's like, "Oh, well, you guys should submit that because that got funded down in the city of Apple Valley." I'm like, "Oh, we had no clue." So we looked into it more, saw what they had been funded, and we submitted it into both our senators, and Senator Smith actually chose it as one of her projects to put in there. She put in the full $2.5 million that we had made a request for, which was fantastic because
Noel's gonna have to come back if we got that and
well, now he's gonna have to do a single audit.
Yeah, I know,
so we better
exactly.
not do that. But she put in the full $2.5 million. Our experience has been that if you make it through sort of the process of getting chosen.
Chances are you're gonna get it.
Yeah, because they really try to they've been really good with this congressionally dedicated funding of making sure that everybody gets something. And so it's not official until they actually approve a budget for 2025, which theoretically should be by September 30th of this year, but we all know that won't happen. It usually gets passed sometime in like February or March of the following year. But at some point in time when they pass it, they've really made a point of including these projects in there because they've accomplished a lot of really great projects and they've been really popular. So that's our hope is now that she chose that as a project that we actually get it funded.
Super cool. And that would be, like I said, describes, obviously there's other development in that space.
Yep.
More ball field. On the topic of ball fields, because I stare at ball fields a lot lately. Is there ever, when we looked at that development in those fields, have we done it in the city before? Have we ever costed out grass versus turf?
It's, I think, gonna be one of the things we have to talk about.
I mean, you're
Because-
seeing more and more cities. Maple Grove just opened up a new complex with all turf and there's pluses and minuses of turf, but weather is unpredictable. Winters are unpredictable. So I'm just curious what the long term, I suspect that turf up front is a lot more expensive.
Yeah, and I think what I've seen where turf has been more successful has been in the multi-purpose fields. Because they really tear up the grass quite a bit. I mean, they're cutting back and forth on the grass and they can get beat up pretty good, especially if it's wet. I think it probably would be less likely on like baseball fields. Because people don't like to play on it as much.
I think you're seeing that change a little bit. I mean, I've now seen, I haven't played I did play in the Metrodome when I was a senior,
Oh, there you
which
go.
is a much different turf experience, but I mean, you see full turf infields, like colored dirt turf that looks like brown and green and that is super popular in the south because they can't grow grass.
Like the dirt area?
The dirt, everything's turf. Everything is turf.
Everything's turf.
Everything is turf.
Gonna ask you, is the
Every-
hybrid model or
Nope, I mean, you see, I think Maple Grove, it's all turf. It's super popular, even you get down into Iowa and the Dells area, you see it a lot, because south it just becomes, they can't grow grass in the heat. And you get people on there earlier.
I mean, the other thing you think about with turf too is that, I mean, people always forget there's a pretty big maintenance expense for maintaining grass.
Yep.
And so, I mean, there's a shelf life of turf. It only lasts 15 to 20 years, but I do think that that's a discussion we're going to have as we're looking at this because, man, I mean, with the type of rainstorms that we're getting nowadays, I mean, it's just we're closing fields more and more often, and yeah, I mean,
What's the likelihood of them being open tomorrow?
fields closed.
Probably not good.
I got a game tomorrow. Got my fingers crossed. Community won. Okay, well, I appreciate that. Thanks for the update. Two other things, just because it's newer in our understanding of federal holidays, just a reminder that Wednesday, June 19th is Juneteenth. The city offices are closed. As it notes in here, the community center and equivalent center and golf course will be open for day use. Like I said, just say that because it's still kind of new and it catches people off guard when they're, wanting to mail something out on Wednesday and they can't mail something out on Wednesday. And then last, because no one else said it, it was silence after, Mayor, after your little announcement and communication caught us all off guard. I've had a lot of time to think about that and no one else said anything, so I'll get that opportunity. I thank you, right? I do have to put up with you for 6 more months. Thank you for that. Thank you for that warning. So I won't send you off type of thing. But again, do appreciate everything you've done for the city and listening to hear about the projects and the successes and those things. Just appreciate that. So I want to acknowledge that because like I said, we were all kind of like, all right. So now I had a full meeting to think about it and wanted to acknowledge it and thank you for that. And that is all I have.
Hey.
Service.
Copycat.
I'll give you a hug or something in 6 months.
At least don't you dare say that. What do you got, at least?
I don't have anything.
Oh, that's good. Christoph, Matt.
I too thank you.
And fruit. Not yet.
All right.
On your last day, I do think we need to bring the hand with the pole and the glove.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
You know what?
Exactly, for sure.
Give the hug, I'll give you a.
Ryan took that home and his kid played with it so much they wrecked it. He's still mad about that because he wanted to hang it on his wall. So I might have to resurrect it. That's good. I just got a few things. We've talked a fair amount about rain already and you're hearing all the closures. And I just want to acknowledge again our public works staff. All this rain that's coming down here now all has to be pumped over. None of it flows through like it used to. So I'm pretty certain we probably, especially now, we have crews going 24/7.
So
monitoring.
on Saturday night, 1 a.m. in the morning, all the way till 1 p.m. the next day, they were running during that rainstorm. And they had to get backup pumps and
I'm
everything.
gonna say, I'm sure they're getting backups by now already. Us and every place in the world is gonna need backup pumps pretty soon, but anyways, I just want to acknowledge that's something that just kind of goes in the shadows of what happens here. And, we just look at rain as being ball games closed, athletic parks closed, 41's closed, but these guys now are gonna be 24/7. They're gonna be monitoring pumps and stuff like that. And so I just wanted to do that. Highway 41, we already talked about closing. Congressional spending, we already talked about. Meetings we have left. Costco is knocking on the door opening, so that's July 13th yet, I believe. I have not heard a difference. I actually drove up there Saturday night and it looks like most of the parking lot's paved and pumps are going in and it's starting to look like a Costco. So be interesting to see what happens on that. And I think, were we all invited to the ribbon cutting?
That would be a no.
Wow.
No?
I haven't heard anything.
That's awkward.
Never mind, I didn't either. Well, I know where it came from, the chamber. The chamber reached out to me and just asked if I'd be around, but that's all they said. So I just assumed, I don't know why the chamber is running it, quite honestly.
All I want to know.
Never mind. How about those twins? They're not playing either. It's too wet. Seems like I'm missing something. I started saying it's July meetings or July, we're gonna have one on the 1st, the 15th. And then the 29th is the 5th Monday. But as of right now, hopefully we're not gonna have to come in for that, but who knows what happens.
I'm almost positive that we won't.
Okay.
That, because I'm not gonna be here.
All right, well,
And I know you're not gonna be here, so.
I can't think of anything else, so everything else been said, so. Someone want to make a motion to go home?
To adjourn. Second.
Motion by Councilmember Gross, second by Councilmember Wong to adjourn. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. See you in a couple of weeks. Stay dry.